Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope you had an incredible weekend. The weather was gorgeous, and my God, if you're a sports fan, it does not get much better than that. A huge Bomber win, couple Jets preseason games, full slate of NFL yesterday, the Ryder Cup, and the Toronto Blue Jays getting the job done and winning the AL East. We are going to be all over this today. Derek Taylor will join us, the voice of the Bombers for 680 CJOB. And I'm going to ask him a question that really seemed to be appropriate after the 40-3 beatdown of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Are the Winnipeg Blue Bombers back? Certainly felt like it at Princess Auto Stadium on Saturday afternoon. What a beatdown. The best performance of the year all around for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and a hell of a way to go into a bye week. Now, on the right side of 500, 8-7, only a half game back of the Calgary Stampeders, who are 8-6 and have a big game against the BC Lions coming up on the weekend. So the West getting very, very interesting in the CFL. We're obviously going to start off with the Jets and some big injury news today, and we will touch on Europe's incredible win in the Ryder Cup a little bit later on as well. Do want to thank our sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet. Jake will come on. He's sweated out his Jays through the weekend. We'll take a look at the futures and the Wildcard series for the Major League Baseball playoffs, which are going to get going tomorrow. Day off for most people tomorrow, and we'll have baseball all day long of the playoff variety. So nice to have that when some people are away from work. Quick programming note. Because it is Truth and Reconciliation Day, we won't be doing a regular live edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk, although we will have the premiere of CFL 110 coming up at 1 tomorrow, and you will have some stuff to get to on the channel tomorrow as well. Also want to thank the Winnipeg Jets. Don't forget, folks, tickets are going fast for the home opener. We have our first date for the WST group in the WST section, in section 316, for what will certainly be a sold-out opening game of the season. So if you haven't already, go to winnipegjets.com/WST. Grab your tickets for October 9th before they're gone. And, of course, your ticket includes a beverage. The doors are opening a half hour early anyways, but we will have a little pregame get-together for everyone that joins us. So get on those tickets right now, and while you're at it, you might want to look ahead and grab seats for one of the other 5 WST games of the year. Second game of the season will be the return of Nikolai Ehlers when the Carolina Hurricanes come to town on Friday, November 21st. But again, you podcast listeners, if you don't have this in front of you, very simple, winnipegjets.com/WST. Grab your tickets before they are gone. Sold about half of them in the first 2 days last week when we went live. Also, of course, the HSC Millionaire Lottery, Rolly's Transfer and St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, Princess Auto, Manitoba Battery, F Apparel, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend. We'll do a Why Not question today for not Autocorp, but Waverly and McGillivray, and fan feedback from all of you at fansfirst.ca. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Yes, Eagle Eyes, the WST CFL parlay finally hit this week. Yeah, 4-0 against the spread. My NFL pick stunk. Everything else was great. So we'll ride the 4-0 record in the CFL. As I say, we'll talk about the lines later on when Jake joins us. Double header of Monday Night Football tonight as well. Not two particularly great matches, but we do have it all. Let's get Remis in here and get this show on the road. Remo, what's going on?
Yeah, feeling good. Weather's nice outside. And,
wow.
And just so much to get to. As you said, we had the Winnipeg Sports doubleheader. Many people taking in the Bomber game, which, funny comment here, I forget who said it, a throwback to the 2021 Blue Bombers with a 40-3 win over Hamilton. Needed to keep pace with BC, who is rolling. Calgary seems to be sputtering here in the end. Curious about the Riders as well, though they've clinched, and the Jets getting their first win of the preseason. A nice win on Saturday. However, there was a cost with Dylan Samberg out. And Scott O'Neill announcing what did you mention that he'll be out?
No, I mean, I was
intro?
just going to get to that
said
right
all
now.
the
I
good
mean,
stuff.
as much as I wanted to talk about the Bomber game right out of the gate and just kind of focus on an ass kicking of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, there was some breaking news this morning, and that, of course, was the injury to Dylan Samberg. I was at the game. I mean, it didn't really look like much, but it's a lot more than a nick. He's got a broken wrist, and as per Scott O'Neill, out for 6 to 8 weeks, Remis, and that does shake things up a bit on the blue line. I mean, all along we've been talking about something had to give with 9 guys on one-way contracts. You know, would it be Ville Heinola? Would it be Logan Stanley? Would it be both of them? I think it's safe to say it will not be both of those guys potentially going on waivers because Dylan Samberg is going to be lost for, in all likelihood, the majority of the first month, possibly 2 months of the regular season, which is not good news for the Winnipeg Jets, considering how much of a role and how important he's been and shown when he's in the lineup and when he's out of the lineup in the past couple seasons.
Yeah, and Connor Rabchak was posting the Pionk stats with Fleury while Samberg was out last year, and their goal differential not quite as good. So this is a big blow to the Jets, losing Samberg to a broken wrist. You know what he can provide, and we saw them without Samberg last year when he broke his foot blocking a shot. So we'll see what happens. Maybe Ville Heinola, he was the first out for practice. And I don't want to say extra jump in his step, but he's trying hard to take one of those spots on the roster. Do we see Elias Salamonson, a big guy? Could he fill in and get some NHL time, or will we see more of Logan Stanley, Luke Shen, and Hayden Fleury? We look at the lines today. It was Morrissey, Shen, Fleury, DeMello, Heinola, Miller, Stanley, Pionk. The lines were in a total blender at forward as well. Here, I can throw these up here. Connor Scheifele, Nyquist. Connor Scheifele, Nyquist, Iafallo, Nemestikov, Velarde, Perfetti, Taves, Niederreiter, Koepke, Barron, Pearson. So I don't know if they're just throwing out stuff, trying to test something new, or if this is what we're going to see. We'll have Mike McIntyre on later to discuss, but the defense is going to look a lot different and big blow. And again, you look at that play, and you hear, you couldn't really see it on TV. They didn't show a replay on the stream, which I did enjoy, is with hearing Mitch and Paul call the game with no digital board ads as well, which was a bonus for me, which I loved. But you hear, Ryan Lomberg hits Samberg. Oh, he's so dirty. What's this guy doing in the preseason? But you watch the replay. They had it on TSN. It looked like a nothing play. Like, it didn't really look like anything. They called it a freak accident after the game. And I hear people saying, oh, what's Samberg doing playing in the preseason? But you got to get some games in. It's the last home game. Like, let these guys play. And look, they don't play in the preseason. Then they come out and play poor in the first game. These guys should have played in the preseason. They're so rusty here to start the year. So you can't win. They got to play. And who's to say it wouldn't have happened in a regular season game either? It's tough. Hopefully it doesn't affect him, beyond the 6 to 8 week timeline. But losing Lowry and now Samberg, tough blow for the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the Jets' weekend goes, they sort of had the kind of de facto third and fourth lines lead the way in Edmonton on Friday night. It was a 4-0 loss, which dropped the Jets to 0-3 on the preseason. Dominic DiVincentis was in net for the Jets. The power play was 0 for 4. Obviously, they didn't have the top power play unit there. PK was good, 4 for 4, and allowed just one shot. Ty Bauer, I'm sure Tiquan Pauly was fired up for this. He fought Josh Brown in a spirited scrap. Logan Stanley got into it, got ejected with a misconduct in a little brouhaha with Kasperi Kapanen. And what was a note, Morgan Barron said the team was a little scrambly in chasing the puck too much. We did get a chance to see that Barron, Koepke, and Pearson line, who together looked good at times and showed some spark, but it was at Calvin Pickard who had 21 shots for the shutout. As far as Saturday, the Jets won on home ice their first preseason win, now at 1-2-1. Walker Duehr, Nikita Chibrikov, Parker Ford, and Neil Pionk had the goals. Chibrikov had a real nice high slot one-timer. for a goal and assist. And Pionk played some big minutes as well. 22:08. Braden Yeager, I thought, had his best preseason game of the year as well. And Parker Ford, he's been noticeable. And you got a chance to get that backdoor tap in from Jad. And Eric Comrie was pretty good at 22 of 24. And you could really see for, Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, the vets that hadn't played yet, it was their first preseason game. But, just ramping up for next week and, of course, next Thursday and the home opener against the Dallas Stars. But let's hear from Scott Arniel. He spoke a little earlier today. And listen, we'll just get to the bad news right off the bat. Dylan Samberg with the broken wrist. Here's how Arnie framed it when speaking to the assembled media today.
He's got a broken wrist. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks.
Broken 8 weeks, okay. You guys have dealt with his absence as recently as last year, so how do you cover for that?
Yeah, well, that's, like we said, the depth, having depth in the organization. Man, oh man, it's like the first day of camp last year when we lost 2D, but unfortunate. He's a big part of our hockey team, but we've asked guys to step up before, and this is all part of that battle, guys being battling for jobs. And like I said, whether that's in practice or those are the exhibition games, every day you're doing something, you're being evaluated, and here we go. Now we got opportunities. Guys are going to have to step up for that spot.
I don't imagine you'd never obviously be happy to hear that, but was there initial concern it could actually be something more serious even, or no, that's kind of
broken. I don't know if we can get more serious, but
right. But did you know it was the wrist right away? Like
oh yeah, that's No, we knew what it was right away.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, so Reem, there's Scott Arniel. 6 to 8 weeks. Tomorrow is the 1st of October. So let's say best case scenario, we're talking about just after Remembrance Day. Worst case scenario, potentially the beginning of December. And I mean, there's no way around it. Dylan Samberg has proven himself to be a big-time difference maker on the Winnipeg Jet blue line. And that second pairing is significantly hampered without him out there. Interesting to see the pairs today. I mean, I think we can all count on Neil Pionk playing big minutes on that number 2 pairing. Who's next up? I would have thought it was probably Hayden Fleury. Interesting that Pionk was skating with Stanley today on a pairing. But again, they were trying a bunch of things, and maybe, we'll get to Scott Arniel in a minute too, when he was asked about bringing the blender out today, about seeing some different looks. I mean, to me, these final 2 preseason games and practices over the course of the next week will, I think the most interesting thing, other than where these forward lines settle, is who will be the guy that steps up into the very big shoes of Dylan Samberg on that second pairing to begin the season.
Yeah, it kind of throws a wrench into our preseason discussion that was all about which guy is going to be the odd man out on waivers, but a spot has opened up for the time being with Samberg being out. Do we see a Morrissey-Shen pairing, or will they rock Morrissey, DeMello, Billy Hainala? Is he going to get a spot in? Think with like a bigger guy like Samberg being out, maybe they'll lean on Stanley. Hope he can bring that type of element, but I don't think you can really replace what Dylan Samberg brings to this team. So they're going to be in tough. Again, your top defensive guys here, Lowry and Samberg, out for the first, possibly 2 months of the year. Certainly not ideal, Huss. And I don't know what to make of these lines. I think they're just trying stuff out, and we'll have to see later on, what they look like. Because I think they're just, this would be the time in training camp to throw different pairings together, because seemingly during the year, at some point, you're going to need to split things up. Things aren't working. Guys get hurt. So maybe Mike will have more insight, but I think they're just throwing stuff around here and getting ready for a preseason game. So this is what they're going to roll with in Minnesota. He did say, the Perfetti line will be there.
Let's grab this one. I mean, this is Scott Arniel on cranking out the blender in the preseason and shaking things up today in their skate heading into Minnesota tomorrow.
Tage's line will be in tomorrow. Vladdy's line will be in tomorrow. Barron's line will be in tomorrow. Forget my other line. Lambert Lambert will be playing center with another line, I think.
And when you say line, you're talking about the lines that as they
lines
were
you
today.
saw it there. I'm tipping my hands here. The lines you saw today and what you're going to see in this next week.
Was that just to get a bit of a different look at what some guys might look like with each other? Use today as some experimentation?
Well, with JT, we had talked about 4 games. With Gus, he'll be back in on Friday. Nyquist, he'll be back in on Friday. But it is a little bit. I do want to see him with him with some other people. Doesn't mean Gabe's going anywhere off of that top line, but it's just a chance to kind of get veteran guys and kind of playing with some players maybe that don't necessarily see. I want to see Nino and Fetz and JT. That's something down the road may happen. I don't know. So it's kind of getting a feel on different looks, and that's kind of how we're going about it.
So that's Velarde skating with Iafallo and Nemetsnikov, and Nino skating out with Taves and Perfetti. And then the guys that won't be playing tomorrow is, he just mentioned, no Kyle Connor, no Scheifele, and no Gustav Nyquist. One other thing that happened today was Hellebuck was out there and then he wasn't. And people were wondering where the Jets' Hart Trophy winner was. Here's what Arniel had to say about Hellebuck today.
Connor Hellebuck was on the ice briefly.
It didn't feel quite right, so he just came off there. So,
would you fully still expect him to play tomorrow in Mini, or
we'll see what after done. I got to go back out, kind of running through meetings here. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. So honestly, I'm just when I'm done here, I haven't even talked to the medical guys yet. I'll do that after with this skate.
All right, so just in case you weren't nervous enough about the Dylan Samberg 6 to 8 week absence, throw a little question mark about Connor Hellebuck at least today. From all accounts, though, it wasn't something that happened on the ice, Remis, but I guess basically based on what we heard from Scott Arniel, it'll be news to him when he hears it as well. So I guess you can just crank up the prayer circle for Connor Hellebuck right now if he's out of the lineup for any extended period of time. Hopefully that won't be the case, and he'll be back into play at least one of these preseason games, because we still haven't seen Hellebuck yet.
Yeah, that's certainly interesting, and he wouldn't really elaborate further when Mike pressed him again. Just said didn't feel quite right, so wouldn't say it was an illness or equipment issue. We'll wait and see. We did just get some news actually about waivers. The Jets placing Phil Giuseppe and Mason Shaw on waivers. They haven't announced any additional cuts. The Moose started training camp today, so that's one thing we'll wait and hear from the Jets moving forward as they look to trim the roster, and 2 preseason games left. I imagine the last one will be a look at look at the game 1 roster, and so we do have that a lot. I don't think we've seen any players claimed on waivers this year. Has a lot of players going through and being cleared and going down to their AHL affiliate.
We'll have a lot more with Mike coming up latest on the Jets. Here's just one more from Scott Arniel, and then we're going to switch over to the Bombers and talk with Derek Taylor. But obviously Jonathan Taves was hoping to get into 4 games. He's going to be in this game tomorrow. A little bit of a change on the line. Here's Arnie on what he's seen from Jonathan Taves so far through camp.
He's a machine. He's at the rink all day. He trains. He looks after himself. He does a lot of stuff that's away from the rink to make sure that he's a lot like Scheif, J-Mo, those guys that continually do all that stuff. And then we can't do anything about the workload that's coming, and the 4 games in a week that's going to be consistent here moving forward. He just has to go through it. He just has to keep playing it and doing it. But part of that Olympic schedule is going to be less practice time, more recovery days, those type of things, and hopefully that every time he steps on the ice for a game, he's fresh or feeling fresh and can do that. Every day he's gotten better. Every day I know that the structure in the system is becoming a little bit second nature. He's got it. He's not thinking through it, sort of slowing down to have it happen. I think the offensive stuff is gradually with his line mates and stuff. I know we got a little bit different tomorrow, but his offensive instincts and his plays that he's so good at, I think it's getting better and better. I see the repetition in practice starting to happen, and that's what I'm hoping for. He's in tomorrow, and then he'll be in again Friday, and and hopefully by next Thursday he's good to go.
What is it about players like him that you would expect their game to age well as they age?
Well, for me, his head, he thinks the game. He's a smart hockey player. His heart's always going to be there, and then his hands. You know, we were concerned about his legs, but man, he's keeping up. He's doing all the right things. I mean, it's not game 80 yet or 75, and he's had to go through a long season. But right now, I think he's up and running in all those areas, and he has all those traits that you know when you draft young players, they hope that they all have all four of them. He has all four.
All right, so there's Coach Scott O'Neill. Love Mike McIntyre join us. He was down at the rink. He was asking many of those questions today. He'll join us a little bit later on, but we're going to switch over to a big Bomber win with DT in just a moment. Folks, if you haven't already, now's a great time to jump on and get tickets for the HSC Millionaire Lottery at hscmillionaire.com. Of course, the next deadline for early bird is the super bonus worth over $73,000. The deadline is midnight, October 9th. So the night of the home opener next week. So don't wait anymore. You can win a Toyota 4Runner SR5 valued at over $57,000 or a Jets, listen to this Jets package. A suite for 12 guests with food and beverage credit valued at $11,000, a $1,000 Jets gear gift card, $25,000 in Indigeno travel vouchers, and $20,000 cash, or just straight up $55,000 cash. And 4 additional winners will be winning gas and groceries from Red River Co-op, $4,000 in Red River Co-op gift cards to be given away. You got to get your tickets in, though, before Thursday, October 9th to be eligible for the super bonus. You'll also be eligible for the Grey Cup bonus. And, of course, other incredible early bird prizes. And then the grand prize, who's going to be Manitoba's next millionaire? One of 5 packages of dream homes, 4 in the greater Winnipeg area, 1 in Vancouver Island. Or just say, show me the money and take $1.25 million cash. Get your tickets today in support of Manitoba's Hospital, the Health Sciences Center at hscmillionaire.com. Maybe you'll be moving into one of those beautiful new homes and you'll have to bring your stuff. Well, listen, if you have a move, lean on our friends at Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving and storage in Manitoba. For over 60 years, family owned and operated. Head on over to Rollies.com. Check out everything they've got going on their website. You can also request an estimate there. So let them know when and where you're moving and where you're going to, and put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and supplies. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn around quickly, get you a great quote, and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they have been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies. Find out more, request an estimate today over at Rollies.com. I just got a note that it's time to go in for a cleaning and see our pal Dr. Terry. The great staff at St. Vital Dental Center have done a great job on my grill over the last year or so, and I encourage all of you, if you're looking for a dentist with a wonderful staff, a great facility that has been taking care of generations of Manitobans, to make the move over to St. Vital Dental Center as well. Taking care of clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups all the way to things like dental implants. They can do it all. And they've got a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment and convenient free parking right behind the building. For all your dental needs, pop down to St. Vital Dental Center. Make sure you tell them the boys at WST sent you, and you can find out more or make an appointment today online at stviteldental.ca. Just before we bring Derek Taylor in, I have a feeling there was a few Bomber fans that were cheersing a beatdown of the Ticats on Saturday night with a little Canadian club, the official spear of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I think Bomber fans almost drank that place dry on Saturday afternoon. But then maybe you drop by your local Manitoba liquor marts, because while supplies last, the special edition Blue Bomber label Canadian Club bottle is available right now. 1858, the original Canadian whiskey. And of course, the official spirit of the blue and gold. Pop by your local Manitoba liquor marts. Get your hand on the special Blue Bomber label bottle. And while you're at it with this gorgeous weather we're having, maybe a couple more weekends of the CC Club Pack with the Canadian Club and Ginger, the Citrus Smash, and the Half and Half. All right, it was exactly what Bomber fans wanted to see. 40-3 over the Hamilton Tiger Cats on a beautiful sun-splashed afternoon at Princess Auto Stadium. The man that called all the action for the home of the Bombers, 680 CJOB, Derek Taylor joins us now. DT, great to have you back on the program. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in lawn care, closing pool, and wiring the house mode because it's bye week. So I got projects that stacked up. So I'm in a good mood.
Yeah, I am sure Fiona had a list for you, and the list will be attended to while you have some time away. What a way to go into the bye week for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I mean, that was exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, for sure. And we saw in the last couple of weeks just the range that this team can be, right? Just an awful offensive performance. But to be fair, an awful pass game performance against the Ottawa Red Blacks too. Oh my goodness, everything is perfection. Look at this. Everybody's wide open and Zach is nailing it. Brady's almost at 100 yards again. I guess 150 with yards from scrimmage. The defense was phenomenal against the second highest scoring offense in the CFL. From the worst possible win to one of the best wins in the last couple of years, right? We saw a real range the last couple of weeks. And thankfully, to your point, Hustler, it was this one going into the bye and not the win in Ottawa going into the bye, because that would give us some feels.
You know what's funny? I'm going to come on the other side of this. And I said this a couple times on the show last week. And this may sound ridiculous considering what we saw from the Bomber passing offense. But to me, that win actually gave me a ton of confidence in what the Bombers might be capable of moving forward.
The Ottawa one? Is that what we're doing there?
The Ottawa one.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is that, you know, especially when you get into tough weather and cold, I mean, there's a number of different ways to win football games. And football, I mean, listen, we live in fantasy football world. We're always talking about the quarterbacks. They're the ones that get all the attention. But you have to be good in a lot of different areas of a football game to win. And while the Bombers basically said that we're not throwing the football anymore after that first interception of Chris Streveler, for them to dominate the way they did with big plays on special teams, incredible defense, and I know Drew Brown had the 400 yards, but a lot of that was lipstick on a pig late. And to be honest, they did nothing when they got into the red zone. Like, I came away from that game being so impressed of what they had to do to win that game. It actually gave me confidence of what this team might be capable of if they get their first string quarterback back. And I think we saw that on Saturday afternoon. Like, it's funny. I after the Ottawa game, I looked at the odds and the Bombers were 15-1 to win the Grey Cup. They were 20-1, which is the longest shot. We haven't seen a number like that on the Bombers in 6 or 7 years. And I thought, okay, you know what? If the defense continues to trend the way they say defense wins championships, well, this defense is trending better and better each and every week. We know what this Bomber offense is capable of at times. We haven't seen a lot of it. Like, what might this team be capable of if Zach was back and this unit gets cooking? Well, they were capable of beating the hell out of the first place team in the East to the tune of 40-3. And I can't think of a better way to go into a bye week for a team that now has put themselves in a very good position, pretty much close to securing a playoff spot and building at a time when, let's face it, they've got more experience at this time of year than anybody else in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, the one thing where I'm pessimistic after the Ottawa win is the defense good. The opening drive, Ottawa walked down the field, but then they tighten up after that. The offense did not look good. And then it required so many bounces to beat the worst team in the CFL, right? You had to have, there was the big kickoff return. Obviously, you can coach that and you can be good at that, but you can't say, well, it's going to get a touchdown every other game. It happens when it happens. The floodgates open, and that's the deal. It took the punt fumble late in the half, right? You go, oh, that's not happening all the time. Turnovers are a thing that have plagued this Bombers team. They went into this past week still the lowest turnover rate in the CFL. So I looked at that and went, oh, you kind of got lucky to beat a team with 4 wins was how I kind of perceived that one. But then
there's some truth to that. Like,
Yeah,
absolutely, there's some truth to that. But again, I mean, you look at what the way different areas of the game stepped up. And just quickly, and we were talking about the offense, like they just didn't throw the ball. And when you have 9 guys in the box, play after play after play, and are still able to run the football and move the chains, I think that was a bit of a statement. Like, to me, I have never seen a running back earn a 100-yard game more than Brady Oliveira did in that game. And I'll tell you what, he just kept it going along with that offensive line on Saturday.
Yeah, the Strebler effect in the Ottawa game and the Hamilton game before that, and that they were able to carry it through with Kalarison, right? Because he's not nearly the same run threat that Strebler is. Man, there were some holes, and sure, it was passing, setting up the run in that game, right? Because Zach was just slinging it, and everybody was open, and Dylan Mitchell had an incredible touchdown catch. I mean, this is how it should look at the high end. So to me, I mean, that was a game we hadn't seen since week 4 against Edmonton from the offense. And you think, to your point of the defense coming around, those 30-plus yard explosion plays, well, Hamilton tried to get a whole bunch of those, didn't they? And how did it go for him? Well, DeMario Houston took one away from Kenny Lawler, and Dexter Lawson is the name I'm looking for, took a couple away from Kenny Lawler. Like, it was terrific. James Vaughters having a couple sacks in that game. The defense, there were a lot of times where I'm calling the game going, Bo, a lot of time in the pocket. Still got time in the pocket, checking his watch like he had some time to go, right? But nobody was open, and that's been the strength of this defense for a couple of years now. And if, to your point, like if down the stretch, you don't need a whole lot of wins to secure a playoff spot. I believe it's one more for BC and Winnipeg, and at least the crossover secured. Come playoff time, though, those plays are hugely valuable, right? You get Trevor Harris off the field with a sack on 2nd and 6. Oh my gosh, amazing. Trey Vauvel takes one to the house in a playoff game. Now we're talking like Janarian Grant. That he was kind of a difference maker in the playoffs in his time in the Bombers, right? So yeah, there are certainly some super encouraging signs from the Hamilton team. Can they do it again? Because as we mentioned, week 4 to week 17, it's a long time to wait to see a win like that happen again.
Yeah, there's no time. That needs to be the standard right now for the Bombers. Yeah. I mean, to have Zach Collaros in there, I mean, to be able to utilize all of the receivers. And listen, I mean, there's a reason why we focus so much on the quarterback, is because it's very difficult to win without great quarterback play. But I'll tell you what, for those of us that were wondering, okay, like what, Zach's coming back, that's great. What will he be like? He was the best version of himself. I mean, that was an absolute Picasso by 8.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as he said to us in the postgame show, if you give me man coverage, we're probably going to find that corner route, right? And if he got Jareth Stearns in that one going to the south end zone, he would have hit, I think, 4 of his 4 receivers with the corner route, and they would have been for big plays. And you go, dang, this is all right. When it's not Hamilton, we'll see what happens. But it was like the West Final from last year. It was the right defense on the right day, and they just exploited it. And we should maybe pause for a moment for one of the few times and give the credit to Jason Hogan and go, yeah, that was a really good plan, right? 40. They put up 40 points in that game. That was a real good plan. Okay, 33 by the offense because Trey Vauvel, thank you for being there. And how I can't imagine Trey Vauvel. We're joking about this, Huss. When you write the season, whatever the result is, when you write the story of the 2025 Blue Bombers, in the offseason, they brought in Peyton Logan to solve their return game. And it just hasn't played out that way at all, right? It's just so funny that it's a strength of this team, but absolutely not in the way we thought it would be. So, yeah, shout out to Trey Vauvel, Minnesota State for life.
Well, listen, speaking of Trey Vauvel, let me ask you this. What are the chances that he, like I was talking about this with Dustin Nielsen today on the Lock Shop. I said, I mean, can we just start etching this young man's name on the special teams player of the year?
Oh, special teams player of the year.
And then he brought up the rookie of the year as well. And I think he is absolutely right in the running for both of those awards.
Oh, that's really good. Rookie of the year. Like I was in the preseason. It's going to be Cam Allen as Bombers rookie of the year, but it's Trey Vauvel. I'm trying to think. Verisuk in Hamilton was getting a lot of love, but his tackle numbers aren't so much that it overcomes 4 return touchdowns and being the first guy since Mario Alford in 2022 to have one on punt, kickoff, and missed field goal return. I am struggling to think of anybody who's going to be in that running. And then special teams player of the year, you probably get some from Isaiah Wooden, who, although he's been nicked, he was number 1 in punt and kickoff return average coming in, but 4 touchdowns is a lot. That's, if Coolbet puts a price out on that, I may have to take some of that. The double for, wow, I'd never thought of that till right now, but that's really good. And it's, I mean, with 3 games left, it's absolutely in play.
Yeah, I mean, and his story has been, I mean, listen, we were originally talking about Trey Vauvel at the beginning of the year as, you know, one of these 2 young guys that was sort of thrust into a starting role at the DBs. Like, that was back at the time. Remember that when guys were always open all day long? I mean, the transition in the work, and I'll give Jordan Younger a lot of credit, but also to the athletes that have been going out there. Like, I think we can safely say that from that lull with the defense at the beginning of the season, they've literally built throughout. I mean, I would make the argument that the defense played well enough to win both of the games against Saskatchewan and maybe that game against Hamilton as well recently. And now, at the most important time of the season, every element of the game right now for the Bombers seems to be trending in the right direction. And no better time than the present to get it all together, because you know that based on what happened at the start of the season, it's going to be a tough road to go if they want to be playing on home field in the middle of November at Princess Auto Stadium.
Yeah, and just on the defense, you've seen Jordan Younger change things up as they go along, right? It's been the same 6 and 7 man defensive front, but early in the season, when they finally got Jay Person on the roster, Jordan went, hey, we're going to have 3 guys rush, and it'll be mostly Vaughters rushing for the middle, but Willie will get a little run in there. We're going to have 3 defensive ends going at it. Last few games, you've seen Jaden Woodby come in these true 3-man front, 3 linebacker sets, and that's
9
3
tackles.
Yeah, right. Led the team in tackles this past week, but legit 3 linebacker set, which you just don't see 3 true linebackers with him, Jones, and Kyrie Wilson on the field often, but he sees something in Jaden Woodby. And it was even with when Michael Griffin was not injured, you started to see some more Jaden Woodby, and you go, okay, well, Michael Griffin is this defensive back piece. And you go, wow, okay, this is really good. 3-3-6. Okay, we're going to go 3-2-7. You haven't seen don't remember a lot of 8 defensive back sets this year, but you've seen Younger kind of playing with the pieces that he has. Michael Ayers, who we thought would be a big piece, really hasn't been at all. Just Younger's been going a different way. We finally saw Jamal Woods in this game after they initially went with Devin Adams as their American defensive tackle, and then I think got ratioed out of using an American defensive tackle, or at least chose to go that way. The injuries keep piling up in the defensive backfield. Dexter Lawson was on practice roster last week. He was absolutely up to the task this week after Jamal Parker's injury. Demario Houston, I don't know if I would say he hasn't missed a beat, but he looks pretty darn good at that boundary side corner. And then the guys, the interior 4 are fantastic. Cam Allen, a couple picks, in the Ottawa game. It's really impressive what Younger's been able to do, and you know how it's been different from. We really saw him be drastically different from Richie Hall last season, and this season you've seen some new and extra wrinkles. And you know maybe a disguised blitz or 2 in the future might make us all super happy. But until we see some of those or some more effective blitzing, my partner Doug Brown won't be fully happy quite yet.
You know, DB, and by the way, you guys are just doing such a good job on that. I mean, I love the contrast between the 2 of you, and Doug in particular has had some real heaters over the course of the last month or so. But hey, listen, he absolutely tells it like it is. When outside of the defensive line, I mean, we know where Willie and Vaughters, the guys up front, but through who's the most important piece of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defense, the guy that would hurt the most if he wasn't there? I mean, is it Tony Jones? Is it Cramdy? Is it Evan Holm? I mean, they're getting contributions from so many players right now. You could probably make the argument for a few of those guys.
Yeah, I would hate to lose either the halfbacks, Dietrich Nichols or Evan Holm. And I don't know that you when you leave the stadium, you feel like, man, those guys are awesome, because I don't know how many times I said Dietrich Nichols' name in that game, right? Just because he's not tested and he's not tried.
That's respect.
100%. I just have a ton of love for Tony Jones. Like he came in as a second leading tackler in the league, and he's that guy. They rush 3. Jones sort of adds in on the rush, but he's watching to see is the running back coming out? Where's the quarterback going to go? So he's got that. You drop him into zone coverage. He's got important tips and interceptions. He's got to track the running back out of there. You know, he just kind of does it all. And then, man, he pursues. He missed a tackle in the open field in this game against Hamilton, and I was legitimately shocked. I'm like, wow, really? Jones didn't make the tackle.
He got juked.
Yeah, absolutely. Which it happens, right? But it just, there aren't a lot. I don't see a lot of negatives from Tony Jones, like negative plays from him on this season. So, man, I think honestly, it's. But let's just say one of those 3 guys, Nichols, Holm, and Tony Jones. But they're rich in linebackers, and they could probably slide Carey in to fill Tony. But I just think he's been fantastic. And defensive player of the year, like most outstanding defensive player, is going to be a bit of a task. Who do you pick for the Bombers this season? 4 interceptions for Holm, 15 knockdowns for Jefferson with a couple of sacks, and Tony Jones, just a little bit of everything in the stat box and a ton of tackles.
Well, the bottom line is everyone is contributing right now, and that was as good of a performance as we've seen all season long from the Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense. They're going to need a lot more of that and a lot more of the offense moving forward. I mean, Zach's performance, it goes without saying. If that is what we're going to see from Zach Collaros, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are live against anybody
they're winning the Grey Cup with that,
on any field in the Canadian Football League. But I just want your perspective. You've followed this team and been calling the game for a number of years. Your thoughts on how the offensive line is trending right now, and then as part and parcel of that, the incredible load that Brady Oliveira has been burdening for this team and the way he continues to come up big week after week.
Man, 3 weeks in a row, there are some holes for Brady to work with, right? Like it's super impressive. And yeah, in this past week, it was we're going to throw the ball and it's going to open up the run game. And Brady's numbers at halftime weren't spectacular, but then all of a sudden, bang, boom, boom, and we're good. And so important in the closing phases of games. This one, it was 40-3. So in a 5-score game, I'm not super worried about their ability to run out the clock. But in a 1-score game, if you can take it from 9 minutes to 4.5 minutes, 9 minutes to 3:25 on the clock, you're really suffocating that opposing offense who needs to score some points, right? So that's where it comes in. And then, like, how much did you just curse under your breath or fully out loud when that giant scramble catch and run that Brady had got called back on a terrible call for Pokey Wilson hold, where Jonathan Moxey grabs him, then rolls backwards onto the field. Oh, no, that's holding on 80 in blue. Come on, man. It was awful. And Brady must have gone for 75 yards, what would have been by far his longest play. And they get absolutely just taken on that one, on just what it looked like an awful penalty call. So Brady's the one guy, I feel like all season, though we didn't talk about him the first X weeks, let's say 10 weeks, I've never had a concern that there was any problem with Brady post-shoulder injury, right? Like, after he came back from missing a couple of games and most of the game he got injured in, he's been great. To that, like, his numbers haven't always been fantastic in these games, but I've never thought it was him, right? I thought it's okay. They need to open up some holes. They need to give him a little more space to work with. And when he does, he's killing dudes. It's so good. And as you mentioned, I mean, what we've been talking about here is you need a lot of ways to win a game. Win it on special teams, win it on defense, win it in the pass game. They can win in the run game too. Like they could, if you saw a playoff game, pretend it's in Calgary, and things are tight. We need to play here. Oh, Brady Oliveira busts one off for 35. I think we can all kind of envision that. Or Brady gets that defensive end in coverage on him, and he makes an incredible tight catch right up the seam. You go, yeah, that's Brady. It's the MOP/MOP runner-up from the last 2 seasons. If this team was a little better and he had a couple more late game opportunities, if this were an 11-4 team, Brady be the MOP running again.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he has been so good since he's come back, and it just feels like he's getting better and more effective and carrying more of a load, although we really didn't need to as much in this game, considering the way Zach was throwing the football. The one really unfortunate thing coming out of the bizarre win in Ottawa was the end of Nick Dembski's catch streak, but I'll tell you what, it was death taxes and more Nick Dembski on the weekend. 7 targets, 7 catches, another 100-yard plus game. If we're looking for a player that has consistently been so important for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on offense this year, my list starts with number 10.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was such a downer as a fan to see that streak, 84 games in a row without a catch, when you could just pop him one. Just there you go, Nick. Let's take this one.
The play they did to Dylan Mitchell in that game. Can we just do that to Nick?
Exactly. Or the play they did, Chris's one pass in short yardage in this game, right? Under center, 2nd and 1. He scrambles out to his right. He throws it like 4 yards downfield to Nick. Turns out to be, I believe it was a 22-yard gain. Just get him something. It'll always stick with me. Something Zach said, it was, I forget if it was early this year or late last year, but we were kind of asking him about the streak because, Nick will say, I don't really think about that. I just want to win games. But Zach's like, oh yeah, no, I'll get Nick a catch. Don't worry. Yeah, because he knows, right? It's not the biggest thing in the world. Grey Cups are bigger. Playoff wins are bigger, blah, blah, blah. But 84, you could say I caught a ball in 84 straight CFL games. That really says a lot about who you were as a player, in your importance, your longevity, and just how good you were, right? So if that streak was now 86 and it was going to be, imagine if it was going to be 100 at the midpoint of next season. You're like, oh boy, 100 in a row. It's the Bombers will say, and Mike O'Shea will tell me tonight on the coach's show, yeah, we don't ever think about anything like that. I kind of like it when teams do, or players do, for their teammates, right? Maybe not for themselves, but if Zach's like, okay, this guy needs something here because it'll be meaningful to him and to his career or legacy, he's going to find a way to make it happen.
Well, I will say this. I mean, it is exemplary of this special and truly special run that the Bombers have been on for a number of seasons, that, top of the rushing stats, Winnipeg native Brady Oliveira. Top of the receiving stats, another Winnipegger, Nick Dembski, getting it done. One other thing I wanted to just ask who you wanted to give a game ball to, and this goes back to the defense, but when you pull up the stats for the game, the difference in this game being as lopsided as it was to me was one very simple stat line. Kenny Lawler, 9 targets, 2 catches, 34 yards. Listen, it took everyone. There was some double coverage. We know Bo doesn't care. He'll still throw it to Kenny. Who gets the game balls for blanketing Kenny Lawler, the number 1 receiver in the Canadian Football League?
Oh yeah, Demario Houston and Dexter Lawson. It was really impressive. It was one of those moments in the game where when you're doing play-by-play, and anybody's done play-by-play loves it when this happens. You see something pre-snap and you're like, oh, there's Kenny Lawler opposite Dexter Lawson, and then it happens to be that Bo's going down the rail to Kenny Lawler on Dexter Lawson. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I set that up. Just worked out perfectly. And Lawson fought that ball away from Kenny Lawler, and you go, okay, here's a guy who is by nature a halfback, got moved to corner because the Bombers needed somebody after they released him in camp and brought him back. Then he was on the practice roster last week, called into duty this week, and the Ticats, really went after him and Evan Holm 2 weeks ago, it felt like, and they did it again, this game, and Dexter was there. And then they went, okay, well, that didn't work so well on a couple of tries. Let's go over to the other side, and here's Demario Houston. And man, if Lawler didn't have that leaning back toward the sideline catch, had 2 hands on the ball, and on the way down, Houston made sure that thing got free before Lawler got to the ground. He went, and both these guys are on it, and they knew what was coming, right? Lawler's a huge guy, a huge height-wise, let's say 6'2" for his speed, maybe 6'3", depending on what day it is. And with all the catch radius in the world, Demario's 5'11", Dexter, I believe, is listed at 5'9". They don't care. They don't care about the height advantage. It's just the technique and get into a guy's chest and then make sure that ball is not caught. Just both the corners need a ton of love for that performance. It was because Hamilton was really trying and they were really denying, let's say it.
Yeah, it was not much of a homecoming for Kenny Lawler, and certainly not a great day at the office for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Just before we go, looking ahead, Bomber bye week. We do have a big game between Calgary and BC this week. While the Bombers and Elks are off, they'll meet next week in Edmonton. Just thoughts on the sort of landscape of the West coming off a week where BC, Winnipeg, and Edmonton win, Saskatchewan and Calgary lose. It is tightening up a little bit, particularly between BC and Winnipeg and the Calgary Stampeders.
Yeah, I was just doing this as I was coming on. I was afraid I was ignoring Remis in the background because I was trying to get these numbers before we go. You could have a 4-way tie at 11-7 in the West. Can I interest you in any 4-way ties and multiple tiebreakers?
What's the tiebreaker? What is it?
It would be head-to-head record among all the teams who are tied, which at the moment, head-to-head win percentage or win percentage of all the teams in the games they played against each other, because they'd all be tied on 11 wins at the first tiebreaker. And at the moment, it would be, BC would need 2 more wins. Winnipeg would need 1 more win. Sask would take a couple of I think Calgary would come out very good in that one.
Well, because they were 5-0 against Winnipeg and Calgary to start off. Or, Winnipeg and Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Sask is 4-1 against BC, Calgary, and Winnipeg. Oh, no, that ain't right. They lost twice to Calgary. I have to update this as we go. Calgary would look pretty good in that, but they would have to dump to BC along the way here. And Winnipeg has to beat Sask, and BC has to beat Sask. So I think we all like Sask losses, but yeah, a 4-way tie at 11-7, and I wasn't quite able to get the order in which it would come, but it would mean everybody's in the playoffs, and it would mean the Saskatchewan is on a real downslope, and the Bombers are rising high as they get to the playoffs. So I think we're all in favor of that.
Yeah, listen, I'll say one thing. It does look like we're going to have 4 teams in the West make the playoffs. It is very likely to result in a crossover. And I'll just say this, knowing what the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have done in the playoffs, certainly outside of obviously the Grey Cup game for the last 3 years, but I think that 40-3 win on Saturday afternoon was a bit of a statement that was heard loud and clear around the league. And for anyone, I would say the rumors of the demise of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers greatly exaggerated, and they're going to be a problem for some team come playoff time in it. Of course, tonight, busy night for you because you and the coach sitting down, fill people in on what's coming up on the Coaches Show with Mike O'Shea tonight on 680 CJOB.
Yeah, Mike O'Shea will be live with us from 7 until 8. We take all your calls and texts at 204-780-6868. Whatever you want to ask, wherever you want to go, if you've got some special bye-week questions for the coach, if you want to celebrate the win, if you want to ask, we didn't get a lot of, it was great because of the announcement, the CFL's announcement on Monday of all the rule changes coming. We didn't spend a lot of time talking about how they had that weird win in Ottawa, and there weren't a lot of calls about, where's Terry Wilson? When's Terry Wilson play? How about Chase Artopius? So if you want to throw those questions in there, maybe get you an answer from the head coach, Mike O'Shea. But yeah, a ton to talk about and a ton of good feels compared to last week's show when everybody was hating the fact that they're trying to get rid of our 110-yard field.
Yeah, well, I just said, you know what, if everyone's that's missing the 55-yard line, let's just keep it there and we'll have the goal lines on the 5.
There you go, right? There's no reason you have to. I mean, it can be the 50-yard line. We could write 55 on it.
Just quickly on that. I mean, are you kind of wait and see? Do you think this is a positive? Are you on the other side? Or I mean, I know there's some very all often you sometimes will hear the loudest voices, sometimes on the negative side. Yeah. I've had a ton of conversations with just about everyone over the last week, and it's been interesting to hear the differing viewpoints. Where are you as a longtime lover of the CFL game?
Bench is fine, clock fine. I don't know why they needed to make the field. I don't know why they needed to move the goalpost back. Player safety doesn't make sense to me. It's not really been a thing. I can show you that it really hasn't affected offenses attacking the end zone. So I don't know that one makes a ton of sense to me. I don't know that you needed to make it a 100-yard field because we were fine with Toronto and Montreal's fields looking the way they were. I haven't heard a convincing reason that it's not though slight Americanization of the Canadian Football League. It'll be a game that looks more, when an American turns on the TV, they'll go, oh yeah, this football. I know what this is. It's not, why is that in the front of the end zone? Or how's this field so long? Right. So I haven't heard a convincing reason for It's not the Americanization. I think points are going up. I made a couple predictions on the pregame show. Onside punts will be a major thing in 2027 because teams will not want to kick a field goal. And I think there's probably money in trying a little punt wackiness, a little onside punt, and scoring's going up because you're going to give every team 10 yards short of field. They'll probably move the kickoffs to the 25. Everybody gets 5 yards bonus that way. Scoring's going up. So even though it's at its highest point since 2008. So I'll see how it goes. I'll wait and see how it goes, but I'm still waiting for a real reason other than the slight Americanization of the Canadian Football League.
One thing I know is that we'll be hammering overs for the first few weeks of the 2027 season in the CFL.
I absolutely will. Yeah. 25 possessions, each worth a quarter or half a point more than they are currently. That's a big deal.
Hey, and by the way, I will say this. I had a take, I would mention that the Bombers were 15-1 last week at Coolbet to win the Grey Cup. I thought that after the performance that they put on, we'd see that number get chopped in half.
Yeah, 13 now?
It's basically at 13 or plus 1250 right now. So just saying, I think there's a lot of reason to have some confidence that this team might be trending and playing their best football at the most important time of the year. So we'll get in on that.
Those are the ones you have to look for, right? Like September 10th or whatever, I got Montreal at 11-1. I'm like, well, Davis Alexander's coming back. And how have they looked the last couple of weeks? Everything looks pretty good there. So if you see value, now's the time to get it.
DT, we'll look forward to the coaches show tonight. Thanks so much for jumping on. Always love talking Bomber football with you. What a weekend it was. And here's the 3 more games and hopefully 3 playoff games for you to call.
That'd be pretty good. Thank you, brother.
Take care. There's Derek Taylor of 680 CJOB. Let's throw out the why not question of the day for not AutoCorp at Waverly and McGillivray to all of you. From your performance, I'll just say this. Who is the most indispensable player on the Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense? We had some thoughts. Was it Evan Holm? Was it Dietrich Nichols? Is it Tony Jones? I'll just say outside of the front, the defensive line, linebacker group and secondary. Because it's a fun question because of just how effective and how important so many of those players have been as the Bomber defense continues to trend in a real positive direction. Why not question of the day for not AutoCorp at Waverly and McGillivray? Let us know your thoughts. Maybe we'll throw a poll up as well on that. All right. Huge thanks to our friends at Princess Auto Stadium. We're rocking once again. Another sellout on the weekend. And of course, 2 more games, I believe. Montreal and Saskatchewan still to go for the Bombers at home this year. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of the Bombers, as well as Winnipeg Sports Talk and Princess Auto, headquartered and founded right here in Winnipeg and now coast to coast, but with 3 Manitoba locations to serve you: Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, and of course, out west in Brandon as well. Princess Auto is where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them in store today or shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery will be fired up. A lot of Bomber fans at Manitoba Battery. Of course, they are your local option for batteries for literally everything from your car or truck to your sled and ATV. As Sadu, of course, they were taking care of our boats and campers all summer. Now it's time to get ready for the winter. And as Donnie always says, wake up Winnipeg, stop overpaying for batteries at the big box stores when you can shop local, get the best prices in town, bar none. Not to mention the best customer service. They've got 2 locations to serve you, Logan Avenue and their new location on the south end of the city on Dovercourt Drive. But if you're busy and you can't make it in, don't worry about it. Give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com. They'll deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. For all your battery needs, shop local, save money, Manitoba Battery, online at manitobabattery.com. And hey, it doesn't really feel too much like fall, although it looks like it. It is so nice outside. But, guys, we all know what's coming. If you look into your closet and realize you need to up your menswear game, head on over to F Apparel at 190 Smith Street downtown. Custom suits starting at $400. Chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the biggest and best selection of menswear accessories in the town. If you are getting married or in a wedding party, make sure you talk to the guys at F with a special discount when the fellas get their suits for the big day over at F Apparel. Just a slap shot away from the rink at 190 Smith Street downtown, or make an appointment online to come in for a fitting. Check them out at that's EPH apparel.com. All right, lots of news today coming out of a busy weekend for the Winnipeg Jets. Mike McIntyre joins us. Mike, what is going on? Great to have you back on the program.
Good to be here, Huss. Actually still down here at Hockey for All Center on what has been a bit of a manic Monday, as the song goes, when it comes to the Winnipeg Jets and various tidbits of news. I think we all came to the rink expecting to get an update on Dylan Samberg, and we certainly got that. Throw in a bit of a mysterious absence of Connor Hellebuck, Scott Arniel getting the line blender out, a couple players put on waivers this afternoon. It's a busy place down here too, because the Manitoba Moose have gotten their training camp underway. So we've got a lot of activity, a lot of things happening, and a lot of things to discuss. Absolutely.
Well, let's just get right to the Samberg news. I mean, this was a bit of a bombshell. I mean, I was at the game. It didn't really look like much. We noticed that he wasn't out there afterwards. Neil Pionk playing a ton on Saturday night. But I'll be honest, I was kind of shocked to hear a broken wrist and out 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, we had the vantage point from the press box of seeing Samberg after he took that hit, hustle off the ice. And I think the thing that first clued me in and others that, okay, this might actually be somewhat serious, is the urgency that Dylan Samberg had as he didn't just walk down the tunnel to the Jets room. He almost sprinted down the tunnel. And, initially I thought, like, did he get cut because of that urgency? You always worry about, maybe a skate blade or something. And the weird thing about it, Huss, is we never got to see a replay in real time. For folks who don't know, Saturday's game was not broadcast on television. And although it was streaming online, the only feed was basically the in-house cameras at the arena. And I guess not surprisingly, they didn't show a replay in the rink to fans. They usually don't show replays of their own players getting hurt or of anybody getting hurt. So eventually video did surface of it. I think yesterday, Connor Rabchuk was able to track that down, and I know he posted online. And that was off the Calgary feed, because what ended up happening, Huss, is apparently for folks watching on the Winnipeg feed that weren't in the rink, the connection actually went down right before Samberg got hurt. So if you weren't actually in the rink, you may not have even been aware that it happened, and there wasn't much to look at. But yeah, it was a bit of a, it was a good hit by Ryan Lomberg. It wasn't dirty. Scott Arniel called it a freak accident after the game. And this is kind of the worst fear of preseason hockey, right? That an impact player, a meaningful player, suffers a significant injury in what is, at least for that player, a nothing game. And now the Jets, kind of like they did last year, although they had that red hot start under their belt last year, and a bit of breathing room built up when Dylan Samberg broke his foot in Nashville, blocking that Steven Stamkos slapper. They will not have any such bubble or insulation built up this year as they now face an extended period without Samberg. Whether it's 4 weeks or 6 weeks, 6 weeks or 8, which was the timeline given. Of course, the regular season doesn't start for like a week and a half. So I guess if you're the most optimistic person, maybe he only misses a month and change to start the year, but they still play a lot of hockey in that first month. And I guess the other side of the coin, Huss, is they were already without their shutdown center for probably that first month in Adam Lowry. Now the league's 2-time reigning best defensive team is without its shutdown defenseman to go without its shutdown center. And those are holes that are not easy to replace.
Well, listen, we'll get back to the defense in a minute. They better not be without their shutdown goaltender. Like, you were there today. I mean, tell us what you saw. And obviously we played the clip. I mean, Arneil hadn't really talked to the medical team yet. So there was no update from the coach, but what was up with Helly?
Yeah. So like he was supposed to, if folks saw the way the groupings were today, like, you basically have the NHL roster that was in the morning group, and the noon group was like all the bubble guys that are still in camp. So naturally, Connor Hellebuyck was with the NHL group, and he was on the ice warming up, before the official skate began. But then he left, and he pulled the chute essentially on the skate. Thomas Milic, who was supposed to go skate with the afternoon group, ended up coming in to pinch hit, if you will, for Hellebuyck, along with Eric Comrie. So they had 2 goaltenders, but this was obviously not the plan. Like, it's not like Hellebuyck was going to just do the warm-up and then get out of Dodge to go watch video or something. Like, this was unexpected. And the update from Scott Arneil, I mean, I don't want to try and read between what he said, which wasn't a lot, and whether there's any area of concern here. Like, not feeling great, does that mean illness? And I asked Scott Arneil, I didn't see the clip you played us, because I think towards the end of the avail with Scott Arneil, like right at the end, I asked him if he was able to clarify at all whether not feeling great meant illness or injury or something else, and he wouldn't say. Possibly he couldn't say, but he didn't. And I even threw it, and then he kind of made a crack about goalies, like as if to, well, goalies are weird. So, and I said, well, does that mean this probably was off camera, where I said, you say not feeling great. Was he just having a bad hair day? And so I don't know what to tell you. Obviously, the fact he hadn't played in the first 4 preseason games, we found out the other day that was by design. So it's not like he's been battling something in camp, which has kept him out. The plan apparently all along was to have him just play the last 2. So I would say this, Huss, if he's not skating tomorrow morning, the team is going to skate at the Hockey for All before they fly to Minnesota for tomorrow's game. If he's not part of that skate, and if he's not playing tomorrow, then you start to worry a little bit. Obviously, the regular season is still just over a week away, but not feeling great could cover like so many different things this time of year. And, it's always dangerous to speculate, but is it just that he couldn't loosen up? Like, obviously these guys go through a whole warm-up procedure, things like groins and ligaments and all that. Like, you got to get warmed up, right? Is it just that he couldn't warm up and they just decided to shut it down and not take risks? Maybe. Does he have the flu? Does he have a cold? Again, there's so much that not feeling great could cover, not feeling right, that it certainly, though, when you combine it with the fact, with the Samberg news and already missing Adam Lowry, it's not a great day, I guess, for Jets fans in terms of the stress levels. But we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, there's enough to worry about right now. Let's not get the Hellebuyck prayer circle going just yet, but hopefully this is just a blip. Maybe he just wasn't feeling too well, and tomorrow we'll be back to business as usual. All right, back to the blue line. And listen, this can be another why not question of the day for the gang. I'll allow you to start off in handicapping the next man up-o-meter for the spot alongside Neil Pionk for the foreseeable future.
Probably.
And what that does to the third pair at the same time.
Yeah, probably Hayden Fleury, to be honest, because they've gone down that road before, and this organization, they value Hayden Fleury. They re-signed him this past summer to a 2-year extension. I think they like a lot of what Fleury brings. He's very mobile, not overly physical, of course, but he can get out of his own end. He can skate out of trouble. He can move the puck. And I think he's the guy that maybe stands to benefit the most, because I certainly, prior to Samberg going down, I would have probably had Fleury on the third pair as the left D. And so now it makes sense that he'd maybe get the first crack to bump up to that second pair. And he's played with Neil Pionk. I know the analytics for that group weren't great last year. It's also worth noting, Huss, that again, and is this because they were without Samberg? Was this just a bit of regression to the mean? The Jets didn't play all that great when Samberg was out of the lineup, like collectively as a team. They weren't terrible, but they cooled off. But I think any team that goes 15-1, like they weren't gonna keep that pace up all year. So they had that really long road trip, which is when Samberg got hurt, like right at the beginning of that road trip. And so the schedule got a little tougher. They were playing a ton. Everything kind of caught up to them. And so they as a team weren't that great without Samberg last year. And the Fleury-Pionk pairing, I think the coaches talked about it like they liked what they saw. The underlying numbers maybe weren't nearly as encouraging. But I do think that that's probably the logical elevation there. But it does create an interesting trickle down then, Huss. So what is the third pair? Like if I think a lot of us had Fleury and maybe Luke Schenn penciled in as that third pair, and Logan Stanley and Colin Miller probably as the 7-8 guys. Well, I've said this before and I'll repeat it again today. I don't see how you can play Logan Stanley and Luke Schenn together. I just don't. Especially on the road where you don't have last change and you can't shelter that pair. So, some might say, okay, well, Logan Stanley then moves up. If Fleury's going to go up to the second pair, then Stanley takes Fleury's spot. Well, but are you playing Stanley and Schenn then as your third pair? Do you now look for something a little different on the right side there? Is that where Colin Miller enters the picture? Or let me throw out a couple other interesting names. There's going to be a lot of people, of course, saying Ville Heinola. I'll say this, Huss. When we started camp, we were talking about 9 defensemen, all, would require waivers to be sent down and hard decisions that had to be made. And if the Jets, for example, were only going to keep 7, 2 guys were going to have to go on waivers. If they keep 8, well, 1 guy. And was that going to be Ville Heinola? Was that going to be Logan Stanley, Colin Miller, Hayden Fleury? There's now a scenario here where the Jets keep 8 and nobody has to go on waivers out of that group we talked about, at least until Samberg's back, and then you wait and see if you're healthy. But there are a couple other interesting names in the mix in addition to Ville Heinola. Elias Salamonson obviously is one, and I think he's had a really nice camp. The thing with Elias is he plays the right side, and the opening with Samberg is the left side. But again, if you're moving Fleury up and then a guy like Stanley's coming in to take Fleury's spot, are you looking at something a little different on the right? And would a guy like Elias Salamonson now get a little longer leash? That still doesn't solve the waiver issue, though, because if he does, you're not keeping 9 even with Samberg out. So are they going to waive Ville Heinola to keep Elias Salamonson? Are they going to waive Colin Miller to keep Elias Salamonson? I don't know the answer to that. I would think probably not. But the other guy, if we're talking left D, a guy that when we were talking about the blue line, I don't think any of us were factoring potentially Cale Clegg into the mix. But here's another guy who's had a really nice camp. Cale Clegg's got almost 100 NHL games of experience under his belt. There's a lot, I think, to like about what Cale Clegg brings. And I do wonder if he's causing some internal discussions as well. And again, whether that would be jumping up onto the second line, or maybe he's the guy that goes on the third pair with Luke Schenn instead of Logan Stanley. But again, Clegg, who himself would need waivers, if he's in the mix, it still means that one of the guys that you thought you were going to have to waive still would have to go. So there's a lot of potential moving parts here, and it's going to be very interesting to see, I guess, how this plays out. Now, I wouldn't read a whole lot into today's pairings, Huss, but it's worth noting that playing beside Neil Pionk at today's skate anyways was Logan Stanley. Does Logan Stanley, like, do you keep, does Fleury and Shen stay as the projected third pair? Does Logan Stanley come in and take Dylan Samberg's spot with, like, are you really playing Logan Stanley in your top four? Is that even your second pair anymore if Logan Stanley's on it? Again, that's just another little wrinkle, I guess, to add another log, if you will, on the fire here.
Yeah, it is. It is such a fascinating conversation because, I mean, it's a major, major wrinkle to the plans of the team going into the season, Mike.
Yeah.
And God knows, I mean, we've gotten a lot of mileage over speculating and talking about this crowded Jet blue line. And I'm sort of with you right now. I think of those 8 players, I think there is a good chance that they punt on this and they keep the 8 guys. And now, again, that would mean Cale Clegg being on waivers, but we sort of think of these 8, the guys that have played with the Winnipeg Jets before. But it's funny you bring up Clegg, though, because the one guy that is, has made a point of saying, well, hey, we're talking to all these guys, but don't forget about Cale Clegg is your colleague Ken Wiebe. And Wiebe has made a point of saying, like, don't write this guy off yet as just a Manitoba Moose guy. He's at a nice camp. He's got experience. I mean, at least it was of Ken's opinion that he should be in the mix with the rest of those guys. And, you're obviously maybe less worried about losing a player that you just got in the offseason coming in. But, I mean, they're going to have to figure out, the best chance of getting a player through waivers at this point. And then obviously, who can actually help you on a day-to-day basis while trying to get through the Samberg injury for what could be 2 months.
Yeah, and I don't disagree on Clegg. The one thing I'll say is this, Huss. I feel like today's groupings were a bit of a tell in that Clegg and Salamonson were they were the noon skate. They were Group B, along with Phil DiGiuseppe and Mason Shaw, for example, who just got put on waivers an hour ago, and all the other bubble guys. The Jets had 8 defensemen, 12 forwards, and they were going to have 2 goalies in Comrie and Hellebuck. Like, they had their roster, other than maybe one guy, probably their 13th forward. And it almost felt like the way the group set up today was essentially saying, here's our 2 goalies, here's our 8 defensemen, and here's our top 4 lines. As for Group B, sorry, there's no room at the end when it comes to the blue line. There's certainly no room when it comes to the crease. And all you forwards, and I think there's still, 12 forwards. There'll be a little less now with DiGiuseppe and Shaw on waivers. But basically, you guys fight it out for the 13th forward spot. Interesting that David Gustafsson is in that afternoon group. But again, you look at who they had in the morning session. So that makes me wonder if, the path of least resistance, if you will, is just to keep the 8 guys they had on the morning group today. Salamonson goes to the Moose. Clegg goes on waivers. And of those 8 guys, so you had Morrissey, DeMello, Pionk, Miller, Stanley, Heinola, and my goodness, how is this failing me already?
Morrissey, Pionk,
Morrissey,
DeMello.
and so Morrissey, DeMello were obviously together. Stanley and Pionk. You had Heinola and Miller, and you had Fleury
And Luke Shen.
with Luke Shen. Yes, thank you. So there's your 8. And then you just figure it out. Now, one thing that we haven't touched on yet with Samberg's absence, Huss, that I got to think is going to be a huge discussion point when determining, like, who comes in and where, is the penalty kill. that is, Dylan Samberg does a lot of big things for the Jets, but killing penalties is certainly a specialty. And what does the penalty kill look like without Dylan Samberg? And the other thing I'll say, again, the Jets, no Lowry, now no Samberg. The Jets aren't a big, tough team to begin with, in terms of the way they play. They've got size, obviously, but those are two of your more physical players in Lowry and Samberg. And, that element, I guess, has taken a hit because you're starting the season without either of those guys. So, and Lowry is also a big part of the penalty kill. So penalty kill, team defensive play, team toughness, all of those have now taken a hit where you now know that for the first probably month, maybe longer of the year, Lowry and Samberg are both not going to be in the lineup. And as we already touched upon, you keep your fingers crossed that there's nothing up with Connor Hellebuyck because the Jets could ill afford to have anything happen in that department.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Mike McIntyre, the Winnipeg Free Press, is with us with the latest on the Jets. Is David Gustafsson the 13th forward on this team, assuming that line 4 is Barron, Koepke, and Pearson? And who is the biggest threat to Gus being the 13th forward?
Well, I would say that he has the inside track based on a couple things. He also would need waivers to get sent down to the Moose. Did the Jets risk losing another guy that they've drafted and developed? He's not a free agent signing, for example, where maybe, not that you'd ever be comfortable losing a guy, but you don't have the same level of investment, long-term investment that they do in David Gustafsson. A guy that, by the way, at one point was, when around the time he got drafted, they were calling him the Swedish Adam Lowry. I don't think his career, at least so far, has panned out in a similar vein, but they like some of the things that David Gustafsson can do. Obviously, with Lowry out of the lineup, he's another centerman. He can kill penalties. So I would say he has the inside track, but I would also say this, Huss, he shouldn't be getting too comfortable at all in that spot because, quite frankly, I'm not going to go out and say he's been poor in the preseason, but have you noticed him a whole lot? I haven't. And yet there are other guys, I would say, that are in that similar bubble vein that I have noticed. And, we could go down the list, like Nikita Chibrikov, really good the other day. Braden Yager, really good the other day. Now, both those guys don't need waivers to go to the Moose. And are you keeping a Chibrikov or a Yager around to be your 13th forward?
Those guys need to play.
They need to play. Same with Brad Lambert. But then you have guys like Walker Dewar, like Jared Anderson-Dolan, a little more veteran guys. Those guys are going to need waivers too, by the way. Another guy that's kind of intrigued me a little bit, Huss, but again, I would put this more in the camp of a young guy that needs to play is Samuel Fagemo. And obviously Colby Barlow. Barlow's had a really good training camp, so much better than last year. So you've got this wave of young guys, Chibrikov, Lambert, Yager, Barlow. They've all been various levels of good. Then you've got some veteran guys like Dewar and, Anderson Dolan, obviously DiGiuseppe and Mason Shaw. They're the two guys that got waived today. The other thing I'd say is, has Tanner Pearson showed you a whole lot yet? Again, it's been very, very small body of work. I don't know that I'd completely cement Pearson in as a permanent top 12 guy. I think there's potentially some interchangeable parts happening there. And so maybe Pearson, I think Barron and Koepke, they're the locks on the fourth line. I think as a duo, those two, they look great. They were the two best players in that absolute stinker of a game in Edmonton on Friday night. They were really good. So I think they're probably in, but I could see kind of a bit of a roving cast of characters potentially get a look with them. So maybe that's where if it's a Chibrikov or something, or a Gustafson, that you're giving those guys looks. But yeah, I think Gustafson, I just feel like because of the waiver situation, because he's a drafted and developed guy with a lot of investment, that they wouldn't be ready yet to pull the pin on him. But I think they'd like to see a little bit more from him as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to get the first opportunity, and it'll be up to him to show it. But, I mean, he's a veteran player. I mean, that will always get you maybe a little bit more rope. But I'm right there with you, Mike. I mean, I think there's a bunch of guys that have sort of made cases that they should be in the mix and in the conversation for this. Yeah. And, it'll be up to those guys to keep their job, I mean, right now and move forward. Well, tomorrow the team will head out to Minnesota. We'll see whether Connor Hellebuck will go with them or whether he'll take a few days off. And then presumably, as long as he's able to play that final game on Friday, have just one preseason game. That might be music to the ears of people that are worried about his workload.
Yes.
But again, you want him to be ready for the Dallas Stars on next Thursday night. Mike, I can't have you on today without touching on a couple of other things yesterday. I know you're a big golf guy. The thing with the Ryder Cup was that it felt like it was over on Saturday. And then it wasn't. But the Blue Jays, I'm sure you sweated that one out yesterday. It was nice that it wasn't close. I mean, Hoffman on Friday night gave, I think, Blue Jay fans enough pains in the stomach to last a little while. But they got it done. Swept the Rays, took care of business. AL East champs, first seed in the AL. What a season for the Blue Jays. And now that win meant everything because they don't need to have their pitchers go this week. They'll be rested, locked, and loaded for later on this week to start the ALDS.
Have they started construction of the Alejandro Kirk statue yet? Because,
the best.
There's some iconic moments in Blue Jay history, of course. And I'm not saying yesterday's performance by Kirk, it obviously doesn't rival the touch 'em all Joe, the Joe Carter home run. It doesn't rival the Batista bat flip. But it was a moment that, Canadian sports fans, certainly Blue Jays fans, just because of what it meant, like the grand slam, and then to hit the 2-run bomb later in the game, that was an all-timer performance by Alejandro Kirk at a time his team needed it. And, because of what it meant, first division title in a decade, avoiding a best of three with it would have been with Boston. When you have the track record you do of the Jays, it's been almost a decade since you won a playoff game. In a lot of ways, we talked last year about the Jets kind of slaying some dragons in, getting out of that first round. It felt like this was the Blue Jays at least slaying a dragon or two. Now they have a lot of other dragons standing in the way. They're going to have a hell of a team that they're going to face in the ALDS starting on Saturday. Whoever survives, by the way, which fan base is going to survive the Boston, New York bloodbath that I suspect that best of three is going to be like? And if you're the Jays, you love that you can put your feet up. You hope those games all go to extra innings. Let the pitching staff just beat the snot out of each other. And you hope that whoever emerges starting Saturday, you've at least got the advantage of rest. You can line your staff up the way you want. But
let's not rule out the possibility of the Tigers coming off the mat and beating the Guardians. And if that happens, it would be Toronto and Detroit. And I mean,
I believe they don't reseed Huss. They're locked in. There's no reseeding. So they actually are locked in to the grids. So it's going to be one of, I did not know that. I just assumed that if the Tigers won as the 6th seed that you would know. They don't. So they're getting Boston or New York no matter what. And Seattle is getting whoever wins the Tigers Guardians series. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm a Jays fan, but more than a Jays fan, I'm a baseball fan. And this season, this has been a lot of fun. These Jays are pretty easy to root for. And I love the fact, they get it done by committee. Like, yeah, they have a few superstars, obviously, but it's not always the superstars that are carrying it. Like, there's a lot of unsung heroes. And the games were like must-see TV this year because the Jays were never out of it. Most comeback victories in the league. They were a ton of fun. So I for one am pumped. Yeah, I was glued to the TV yesterday, riding the emotional roller coaster that they gave us. And when they almost blew that early big lead, it's like, okay, this is classic Toronto. Like, they're going to find a way to piss this away, and thank goodness that they didn't. And it ended up being one big party. What a great atmosphere at Rogers Center. Some of the scenes from like the guys coming out shirtless and guys dropping F-bombs on live TV. And how about the disco ball?
Yeah.
Inside. I love it. The disco ball edition was it was like they're conducting these interviews and you're like, are they at a nightclub? And like, no, they're in their dressing room. They just turned it. I'll say this, Huss, it's a good thing they don't play till Saturday. There's going to be a few guys that they're going to be playing hurt for a couple days here. First division title in a decade. Like, if you're the Dodgers or the Yankees, and you kind of do this every year, I got to imagine it hits a little different when you're a team like Toronto that, quite frankly, almost nobody picked them, certainly to win the division. Most people didn't even have them making the playoffs. So you're going to milk this as long as you can. Let's just hope, though, that these guys sober up in a day or two, put the disco ball away, and get back to baseball in time.
Well, I hope Bo, I don't know how, I'm sure Bo was front and center in the party. Hopefully Bo's able to go for next Saturday.
I noticed when guys were running to the mound at the end of the game to celebrate, he was walking slowly. And I thought, oh, that's not a great sign. Now, the thing about Bo Bichette is, like, could he return, even if he can't field, can he possibly return just as a bat? Could they use him as a DH? And I don't know. I mean, I was there, Huss. My son and I were in Yankee Stadium when he got hurt. That's a moment I will never forget, and not because of the injury, because of what was happening on that Saturday afternoon just over 3 weeks ago. For those of you who don't remember, we were sitting in the upper deck at Yankee Stadium. You could see the storm moving in. The sky was black. And there was fork lightning happening everywhere around the stadium, to the point that we're like, are they calling this game? Like, are they going to roll the tarp out? That play that Bichette gets hurt ended up being the final play. And there was a huge bolt of lightning and crack of thunder as Bichette tried to score on a play that at the time would have tied the game. And then he gets hurt, and within about 5 seconds, the skies absolutely open up. It was almost symbolic of like the storm clouds around the Blue Jays. Like, it's like there was a message in all that. And so Bichette hobbles off, then it starts pouring, and it was one of the craziest storms I've ever seen, like, where I've been outside stuck in it. It was crazy. Like, I thought a tornado was hitting the upper deck at Yankee Stadium. There's like clothing flying around. I think I may have seen a small dog named Toto. It was nuts. But then he comes out after the 2-hour rain delay and finishes the game. So you're like, okay, crisis avoided. And then he hasn't played since, because obviously it swelled up, whatever happened. So I hope he's back, because look, you don't get shots like this too often, especially if you're a team like the Jays, and you want to take your best shot with your best players. He's kind of the heart and soul of that team, and I hope he's back.
We'll talk more Jays with JBM. He's going to join us. We'll take a look at the futures for the MLB playoffs in just a few minutes. How much of the Ryder Cup did you take in?
Quite a bit, and it's funny. Like, the results Saturday almost had me losing interest. Not because I was rooting for the Americans. I like drama and intrigue. But then as the early matches, now I actually played golf myself yesterday morning, Haas. So as I was nearing the end of my round, and then I saw what was happening, it's like, okay, well, this is getting interesting. And as much as I was invested in what was going on with the Jays, I was doing a little channel surfing. Also had to keep an eye. So a couple things. I was in my fantasy baseball finals, and I was playing my own brother. It's a 14-team league. It was down to me and my brother, and it was a very close match, which I'm going to pat myself on the back right now. I stood tall at the end. The better McIntyre ended up winning out. But so I had a lot to keep an eye on. I was watching all the other games that I had players in. I was also watching, of course, what was going on in fantasy football. Looks like I may get a much needed win in our media division, Huss. I was watching, obviously, the Jays, was watching the Ryder Cup, was waiting for news on Jets cuts. There was a lot happening. So it was a great sports day. The Ryder Cup ended up being really compelling theater.
I could not believe how tight it got at the end. And I'm like you. I was sitting. I've got bets on half the games in the National Football League and my fantasy teams or whatever, and I couldn't turn it off.
Yeah. Are they going to blow this? Are they going to? Yeah.
Well, and to be honest, you want to talk about a sweat. I had a couple bets on Europe to win the Ryder Cup. Well, if you've seen the way the markets work for the Ryder Cup, there's USA to win, Europe to win, and a tie, which would be 14-14. And I mean, listen, all they needed was a couple points.
Yep.
But we were like, okay, wait a second, where are those going to come from? And it ended up going all the way down to the final three guys. And then obviously Shane Lowry got his extra point. There was a couple other matches and they got it, but it was incredibly tight. The big conversation about the Ryder Cup, though, Coney, was just the buffoonery.
Good word.
In the crowds. Like, listen, we know there's a lot of scumbags in the New York sports fan era, and they sort of wear that almost as a badge of honor. But it really did ramp up the Euros, certainly through the first couple days, and then they just sort of hung on. But I will say this, as hard as the Jays partied yesterday, I think that Team Europe might have even overdone it based on what we saw coming out on those social channels afterwards.
The video from them on the airplane is just incredible on the charter. But yeah, you're right. So again, my son and I, we were at Yankee Stadium a few weeks ago when we were coming back from our cruise from Bermuda. It was out of New York, so we went to that game. My son had his Blue Jay jersey on. And he said to me that he took a lot of verbal abuse. Some of it was in good fun. Some of it was way over the line. And I remember my son at the time said, "Dad, what's it going to be like when they have the Ryder Cup here in a few weeks, in New York?" And I said, "Yeah, it's going to be a zoo. Like the only place I could think where maybe it would even be more over the top buffoonery, as you said, is like Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a place where didn't they once pelt Santa Claus with snowballs, and like they actually have a prison in their football. Yeah, they have a jail in their football stadium because they need it so much. So, but yeah, they like the stuff with Rory, and I'll be fully upfront and honest. I'm a huge Rory fan. I love Rory McIlroy. I loved the stuff like the back and forth. I love that he kind of fought back. Now, did he actually pour gasoline all over the fire in a way? Yeah, I guess. But that clip of him telling the fan to go F himself and then sticking his shot to within, that's like an all-time.
That's the moment of the Ryder Cup to me. The moment of the Ryder Cup. Shut the F up. Boom. 3 feet. Fleetwood. Thank you very much. And a win.
Tremendously.
And you know what? If you don't believe that bad blood is real, and listen, I think the fans did a lot more to it than the players, although Bryson got into it a bit with, Justin Rose got in with Bryson's caddy, and Bryson was being a little bit Bryson at that point. But there was a moment afterwards during the celebration where they're up on, and if you've ever been to the Ryder Cup, like the staging is incredible for it. They build up all these grandstands, and there's areas that the players are walking through that they have the names of all of the players in the event. And
Oh, yeah,
Rory happened to be looking out to the fans, and they're doing champagne or whatever, and realized that he's right above Bryson DeChambeau's name, and just takes the European flag and covers it. I mean, it was.
He may as well have like urinated on it because it had the same effect. There was also I think it was Saturday. Wasn't Shane? It was like pro wrestling crowd.
Yeah.
Wasn't Shane Lowry at one point looking like he wanted to go into the crowd to like fight a guy?
Yeah, he was quite. Apparently, somebody threw a beer at Rory's wife.
Oh my God.
Which they hadn't. Rose said yesterday in the press conference afterwards that he hadn't heard about it, but it was something else. There is nothing like the Ryder Cup, and I will say, as someone like I was at the last 2 Ryder Cups that were here in North America. Yeah. I was at Hazeltine in 2016. I was at Whistling Straits in 2021. It was nothing like it was this year.
No.
I mean, that was that Northeast. One other thing is, I think my tickets for those 2 events, I think the first year was like maybe $190 a day, and the Whistling Straits might have been like $240 or something like that. Yeah. It was $750 a pop. So they cranked it up. It was probably a lot of people that had a lot of money and not a lot of consequences in their life that figured they could go.
I'll say this, and golf's the gentleman's game and all that. Now some of this probably went too far. I actually don't mind any of this in the grand scheme of it. I don't. I'm not saying if every tournament and if it all started to look like this, then whoa. I'm okay with it getting almost borderline out of control. And all I wonder now, Huss, I think in 27 it's in Ireland, right?
Oh yeah.
So, and I think it was Rory was saying I'll tell our fans in Ireland that this is not what we saw this week is not acceptable. Are you kidding me? I almost feel like the Irish fans now, they're going to try and one up, basically, oh, you want to see hooliganism? We'll show you what hooligans look like. And the Americans could be walking into an absolute Shark Tank in 2 years from now. And I'm all for it.
Oh man, this was honestly, I said, this was the top 5 sports weekend going into it, probably top 3. When you add in the Ryder Cup, when you add in the final day of the Major League Baseball regular season, along with everything happening on the gridiron, I mean,
how about a beautiful 40-40 game last night, just to put the cherry on the Sunday? That was great too. Although I hate that it ended in a tie, but what an absolutely compelling football game. Yeah, it was a great day of sports.
No doubt about it. Well, we'll focus back in on the Jets tomorrow as they head to Minnesota. Hopefully Connor Hellebuck will be there. We'll have an update, I'm sure, from you and the gang tomorrow. And then talk about it all coming up on Wednesday. Mike, great stuff as always. Thanks for doing this.
You bet. Enjoy the week.
Good stuff. All right, Mike McIntyre with us. Of course, just hitting the Ryder Cup. Of course, all our golf reports all season long have been brought to you by our friends at Breezy Bend. And man, can you believe this golf weather right now? Mike was out there, had a bunch of friends that were out at Breezy yesterday. It has been a great season. If you are thinking about making Breezy a long-term golfing home for you and your family and one of Winnipeg's top private courses, give Corey Johnson a holler right now over at the clubhouse, or find out more information online at breezybend.ca. Thanks again to Breezy for all of their support this year. Congratulations on an amazing year, including hosting the Manitoba Open, and cannot wait to get out there swinging them at Breezy next year. Let's get to some fan feedback brought to you by Fans First. Your number one spot for your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. We had another sold-out Bomber game on the weekend. I know some people that last minute were looking for seats. They ended up getting them at fansfirst.ca. And again, as the Jets season gets going, if you do have extra seats for a game, there's no better place to sell them. And of course, no added fees at Fans First. What you see is what you pay. I'm going to go back to our Bomber question. And we have many people that are suggested for the Bombers' top defensive player. A lot of love for Willie Jefferson. I was kind of looking for the secondary and linebacker group. Manny Fran rolling with Rita Cramdy. I think Rita Cramdy has had a great season. Ishaboy Bruce, Cramdy, and Jones with Holm, an honorable mention. And then, Cam Allen going to be a big part of it too. Let's see. And yes, and Manny Fran said, we said anybody but the D-line. A couple other votes for Tony Jones, but a lot of love for those three, the key three right now. And I will agree with DT, Dietrich Nichols, still getting the job done. And great to see Demario Houston make an impact. I mean, the job that group did on Kenny Lawler, just another great story coming out of the 40-3 win. Fan feedback, as always, brought to you by fans first, by fans, for fans, no fees. All right, Jake's going to join us in a minute. We'll talk a little bit more Jays, see how things are shaping up for the Major League Baseball preseason. But I do want to go back and just hear a little bit more from the aftermath of Saturday's Bomber game. Man, did Zach Caleros look good. He returned and led the team really right from the get-go. Here's what Zach Caleros had to say about the big win on Saturday.
I thought we played a pretty complete football game. All three phases. Obviously, Trey started off there, really getting the crowd into it. It's not like they need help with that, but that was an unbelievable way to start a game. Defense was outstanding all night. I mean, holding that team to, was it 3? 3 points is not easy, with Bo back there throwing the ball on Scott, down stuff up. Kenny Lawler, Tim, they got a lot of guys on that team, right? So for the defense to do that, I'm not surprised, but just an unbelievable performance. And offensively, being able to run the ball, throw the football, on first down, staying ahead of the chains, all those things. I think we had a little lull there in the second quarter. They did a good job of dialing up some stuff. We got to get better there. But all in all, we'll watch the tape and evaluate it, but, feel good about it.
All right, there was a Zach Caleros, and here's Coach Osh on the game.
Yeah, that was a pretty neat three-phase game in terms of how clean they were. I know we took a few penalties, but I think the execution, when we watch that back as coaches, we'll be very pleased with the execution. The players should be too. And when you get all three phases humming, that's what's possible. Do I think they're all going to look like that? Yeah, I sure as hell hope so. And I think it's a great indicator of what you can do if you play really clean, high-level execution, physical. You do all the things that we know over time equates to winning. It can look like this. So I'm very pleased for the guys, especially going into a bye week, having something like that they can enjoy.
Now, as we, I'm going to ask Jake to see if he can cook up what I was talking about with DT earlier. Could we possibly have double hardware for Trey Vival this year? If he keeps doing what he's been doing lately, I think there's a good chance of that. He kicked things off right out of the gate, taking it to the house. Here's what O'Shea had to say about Trey Vival's game and his contribution.
Yeah, he's been terrific. He really has. I go back once again a long time ago after training camp when we started talking about him. His desire to do it right and to keep learning, not just in the return game, but in all facets of football, defensively, and if we need him as a cover guy, all those things. His desire to keep learning, keep getting better is very high for a young guy, in his first real good go at it, right? So when you got a guy who's coachable, right, makes coaching easy.
I know he's a veteran and he's had, a lot of great games in this league before, obviously, but, Zach, having missed some time, just what impressed you the most about him, being able to hit the ground running like that?
Yeah, his leadership throughout the week. I thought he was spot on, and he used that energy to be focused in his prep and make sure everybody was dialed in, and certainly he was pretty dialed this game. He was spot on.
All right, there's Coach O'Shea. And again, we had Derek Taylor on a little earlier. If you joined us late, you can check that out. And of course, Coach O'Shea will be with DT tonight, 7 o'clock, for the weekly coaches show over on OB. We're going to talk to Jake Bolin-Moss in just a moment. But we got a Monday nighter too. We got 2 Monday nighters to get to. Not the best matchups, but we're here for it. We'll hit the lines a little later on, as well as talk Major League Baseball playoffs and futures. But if you're looking for a great spot to get together with your gang tonight, make it your local Boston Pizza. Nobody has Monday night like BP. Of course, you've got those ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, both games on the screens with great sound and great prizes to win. Every quarter, somebody is spinning the BP prize wheel to win an array of great prizes and BP food. And of course, they've got NFL jerseys to give away all season long as well. So tonight, we've got Miami and the New York Jets, followed by the Broncos and the Cincinnati Bengals. Get on out and win great prizes at your local Boston Pizza for Monday Night Football tonight. We are counting down to the home opener for the Winnipeg Jets, and that means it might be time for a new jersey, a new lid, maybe a hoodie for the season. If you want to get geared up for Winnipeg Jets season, there's only one place to go, and that, of course, is Royal Sports, the undisputed, undefeated sports superstore for over 50 years in Winnipeg. Not only do they have a ton of Bomber gear, or Jet gear, they've got tons of Bomber gears. We get ready for this push to the playoffs, including the shirts that the team had for the Orange Shirt Day. So pop on down to Royal Sports for that. All your best NFL merchandise coming in as well. And, of course, the best hockey selection in town as everyone gets ready to drop the puck on another season. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Check them out on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. All right, JBM is ready to go. First, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's welcome in our pal Jake Bolin Moss. You can see Jake, Pat, and myself weekly Fridays, 10 a.m. right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk with WST Winners, where we make weekly picks against the spread and props and our touchdown parlay. But today we're going to dive in. It's like a little mini WST Winners because we've got to get to the Major League Baseball playoffs, which begin tomorrow with 4 games of the Wildcard variety. Jake joins us now. How was your Jays clinch celebration yesterday? Are you still getting the champagne out of your hair?
Yeah, I'm still sweating out the champagne this morning after that victory. It took all the way until game 162. Huss, not ideal as a fan of the team and someone who wanted to see them get that little extra rest in the bye, but they found a way to get it done. So that's the most important thing. I was actually at a wedding this weekend in Kingston, so I was away from home, but we're at my buddy's place on Friday night, and we were sweating out that Hoffman finish, and then we were on the bus to the wedding on Saturday while that game was going on, and I did catch most of it yesterday once I got home. So, caught as much action as I could. Good to see the Jays get it done, especially Alejandro Kirk. What a game, 2 homers and a double. He was a big part of that victory yesterday, and another one of those things where the Jays it's a different MVP every single game, and they found a way to get it done. They had to win the last 4 games to clinch the AL East, and they got it done.
Yeah, it was, listen, it felt like it was slipping away earlier last week, and they had no more wiggle room, but they got the job done. And, just to talk about Kirk for a minute, I mean, the season he's had, but the way he's come up big in the biggest moments is frankly making him a bit of a Blue Jays legend. I mean, he's already a really unique player, a really fun guy to cheer for. But for him to go yard with the grand slam and give this team a lead that they so desperately needed is a moment. Like Mike said, it's not quite Joe Corder or maybe the bat flip of Batista, but it will be synonymous with this regular season. And, you just wonder if Vlad Guerrero can somehow get to really good Vlad in the playoffs and they can get Bo Bichette back, what this team is capable of. Because the season that Luke's has had, Alejandro Kirk, George Springer. I mean, so many huge question marks at the beginning of the season. it's kind of funny that the biggest question marks going into the playoffs are of their top two guys in Bo and Vlad.
Yeah, I mean, you just think about the guys who have come up as well. Barger, he went on a run there. He had a homer in that final game. Ernie Clement is a hit machine. Davis Schneider had some really good at-bats down the stretch. They were even talking about it in the broadcast, like some of the pitches he's laying off. He wasn't laying off a season ago. So many guys have elevated their game to another level, and it was good enough to win a division this year. I know they only had, 94 wins when it was all said and done, and, usually that probably wouldn't win you a division, but you don't apologize for how everything shapes out. And this is, one of the best records in baseball, the best in the American League, and they're going to earn a couple home games starting on Saturday. This week they get to sit back, set everything up. I think that's the nice part for the Blue Jays is, they had some injuries down the stretch. They moved Barrios to the IL after he pitched, I think, Friday? They moved Bassett to the IL. I think he should be ready to go. So we'll see if he gets onto the first roster there for the division series. And then we talked about Bichette. Obviously, they Santander's come back. I thought he had a few good at-bats. We'll see what that looks like, come next weekend. But, yeah, just so many different guys, so many different ways that John Schneider and management can kind of set this team up. And I think it all starts with the pitching, Huss. We're going to see Kevin Gausman likely make a game one start. If I had to guess, Trey Savage probably makes the start at home in game two. And then guess what? You went and picked up a guy up at the deadline, and Shane Bieber, he'll probably get the first start on the road in game three. So, with that first three, you're probably feeling pretty good as a Jays fan. You can put up a few runs.
We got Jake in slow-mo right now. He just popped out. He'll pop back in a minute. I'm going to pull this up, but he's exactly right. I mean, and Remis, you can speak to this as well. I mean, the difference from having to play tomorrow with a bunch of pitchers that were tired or question marks as opposed to waiting out the rest of the week and getting to Saturday and setting up your rotation however you want, is a massive advantage for the Blue Jays going up against whoever survives of the Boston New York Yankees series.
Yeah, and for them who had to play Kevin Gausman on the last day of the season, huge bonus to have the days of rest for that, set up your rotation the way you want it, but also Bo Bichette, a lot of questions around his availability. A couple days could be very valuable in getting him back in the lineup. So, what a series this weekend for the Blue Jays and the Yankees, going toe-to-toe, winning every game, and being able to clinch a win at home on the final day of the season to get the division. Would have been, a nice story if they would have made the playoffs. Not a lot of people had them in this position at all in the playoffs before the season, but to win the division over the Yankees, over the Red Sox, again, on the final day, and have that disco ball with a flamethrower in the dressing room celebration. It's awesome. And I know people dump on, these guys having the champagne. They've been going at this since February. They haven't won the division in 10 years. No one thought they would be where they were. Go as crazy as you want. It doesn't happen that often. I know in Seattle, they did it back-to-back days, once for making the playoffs, and the next day they clinched the division for the first time since 2001. So I like it. I think you got to celebrate the wins. Only one team wins the ultimate trophy at the end. But they've been battling since pitchers and catchers report in February at this, and credit to the Blue Jays for making it this far.
All right, let's get to the lines. Let's start off with the futures, and I think we've got Jake back in. Here is our World Series odds right now before the first pitch is thrown in the playoffs. The Phillies are the favorite at 4-1. The Mariners are 5-1. Dodgers are also 5-1. The Blue Jays 8-1. Yankees and Brewers plus 850. Padres and Cubs 14-1. And the Red Sox and the Tigers 20-1. To win the AL, it's Mariners at 2-1, Jays at plus 275, Yankees 4-1, Red Sox plus 750, Tigers plus 850, and the Cleveland Guardians. Oh, I guess I missed 2 teams. Oh yeah, Guardians are 22-1 and the Reds are 30-1. And the National League, Phillies 2-1, Dodgers 3-1, Milwaukee plus 375, Cubs plus 650, Padres 7-1, and the Reds 16-1. Let's get Jake back in here. I believe the connection's good again. Jake, I know you've been taking a look at the World Series odds, AL, NL. First off, what do you think about the Jays at 8-1 to win it all and plus 275 to win the American League?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it makes sense. You might look at that and think to yourself, well, why the Mariners only 5-1? Jays had the better record in the AL, and, why aren't they the favorite? I think a lot of that comes down to the draw, right? And you guys were just talking about it, because there's no reseed. Even if Detroit beats Cleveland in their 3-game wildcard series, the Jays are going to end up playing the winner of the Yankees and Red Sox. And I think naturally that is going to be a harder series than whatever Seattle ends up getting, whether it's Cleveland, who obviously came on late, awesome run. They've been a hell of a story, or Detroit, who, has scuttered down the stretch here. So I think it makes sense. 8-1. I believe they were 850 this morning. So obviously that number has moved. I did have our bookies send over the risk, and I'll tell you this much. As I'm rooting for the Blue Jays to win the World Series, Coolbet is not rooting for the Blue Jays to win the World Series. Big risk on the Blue Jays, as you can imagine, Huss. I think the teams that, if we were to be rooting for a team, the Phillies would work out for us, and then both that Tigers and Guardians. So both teams, one of those teams is going to be playing in the ALDS on the other side with the Mariners. But yeah, the big risk for us right now is the Toronto Blue Jays.
I'm just looking, and I got to go way down here in the off season, or in the open bets here. But the Jays, we got them at 7-1 to win the AL on July 24th. And that was the week where we were talking about the odds, said, you know what, this is probably going to come down. I think within a couple days, it was at like plus 450 or 4-1. So a nice position, I guess, to be on for the Blue Jays right now. Plus 275 for the AL win. And then considering the strength of teams with the Dodgers and the Phillies, not surprising that number is a bit higher. Any thoughts on just a value play or two, whether it be from the NL or, we all want the Blue Jays to win. We're invested in it. But outside of the Jays, is there a number or two that attracts you on that on the board?
Yeah, just looking, the Padres at 7-1, I don't mind at all. They got to go to Chicago in their wild card series. And then if they make it out of that, I believe they'll get the Brewers. And I just don't know. I know the Brewers had some great runs earlier this season, Huss. Incredible. I just don't know. That was a team that we were all over. Is no one talking about the Brewers? What's going on? And, they've taken care of business pretty much all season long. But, am I sold on the Brewers just yet? I could see the Padres giving them a run. And we've seen the Padres have some electric playoff runs. I know they haven't gotten all the way there, but some of the games this team can play, they have some electric personalities. Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado. So 7-1 to win the NL, I think, is a pretty good number. Their World Series number is 14-1. I don't mind that either. We also have MVP odds, Huss. I don't know if you've seen those just yet, but we do have some World Series MVP numbers. I noticed Bo Bichette 75-1. If he can get back healthy and the Jays going to run, Huss, that's a pretty good number.
Yeah, listen, we won't be able to go through all of these, but if you're a baseball fan and you want to kind of sprinkle the board, there are odds for the most hits in the playoffs. Shohei Ohtani's number one at plus 550. The playoffs most RBIs. Aaron Judge is the favorite at plus 650, followed by Big Dumper, Cal Raleigh, and Ohtani at 10-1. You got playoffs most saves. I'm not sure I'll be jumping on Jeff Hoffman for that number at 7-1. He's the fourth guy on the list just because of the heart attacks everyone seems to be getting from them. You got most strikeouts. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the favorite for that one in the playoffs. That would be, obviously, if the Dodgers go on a nice run. Most homers in the playoffs. And then ALCS MVP and NLCS MVP. And as you mentioned, World Series MVP as well. And yeah, I don't mind that Bo Bichette 75-1 before things even get started. A lot of really, really fun markets. And this is a perfect day to do it because obviously this is all off the board once we get to tomorrow.
Yeah, and it starts up real quick. Like I checked out the schedule yesterday. I think 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Everything gets underway with Guardians Tigers. So, it is nice. We do have these 2 wildcard series. I know it never used to be the 3-team wildcard, but we have 2 series that it's 2 divisional rivals going up against one another in the Guardians and Tigers, and then the Yankees and Red Sox on the AL side of the bracket. The other side, not as big of a draw. I think it's Reds, Dodgers, and then Padres, Cubs, but definitely intriguing series as well, just to see how it's all going to set up by the time we get to the weekend.
Here are the series prices. If you want to bet the wild card round, the Guardians and Tigers is a pick'em. Scooble, of course, going for the Tigers in game number 1, minus 114 on either side for the series price of that one. Dodgers and Reds, no surprise the Dodgers are a big favorite in this one. Cincinnati's the longest shot in the field to win it all. Dodgers minus 222. Reds plus 167. The Yankees are a minus 167 favorite against the Boston Red Sox. Red Sox at plus 125. And where's the Brewers? The Cubs. The Cubs are a very slight favorite against the Padres. Minus 125 for Chicago, minus 105 for the Padres. I do think the Padres are a live underdog. I think I might get a little piece of them in that first round series. And I'm fascinated by this Guardians-Tigers series in that we have seen what was almost the greatest collapse in Major League Baseball history. Now, they did sneak into the playoffs, but, Jake, they blew the AL Central, and that's why it'll be Progressive Field that's hosting this one. I mean, on paper, the Tigers are a better team. They've got their ace going, and Scooble has to win that first game. I'm almost thinking that maybe Detroit's had their near-death experience, and with the huge advantage in game number 1, I'm almost willing to maybe throw it on the Tigers. I was hoping it was reseeding because I would have rather played Detroit for Toronto's perspective than either Boston or New York for being the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Huss. I think, if Scooble's going to go tomorrow, well, Scooble is going to go tomorrow, and we're going to expect him to pitch the way he does, you're not going to get a better number than that minus 114 in that first series against the Guardians. So if you feel like Detroit can get it done in one of those next 2 games, it's probably the time to get on them. Yes, I mean, obviously they could split the first 2, and we could be going to a third game in the wild card on Thursday. That case, it might be similar number for game 3, this pick 'em minus 114, but I tend to agree with you. With Scooble going, I think the Tigers, they know there's no more time to sit back and wait for something to happen. Obviously, we saw what happened with the Guardians down the stretch and just a crazy turn of events. But the fact that they're in, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. And you got your ace going on Tuesday. The other one that's intriguing to me, Huss, Red Sox plus 125. I just did a quick peek. Red Sox are 9-4 against the Yankees this season. Like, I think the Yankees are a little overvalued, obviously, because they are the New York Yankees, but a flawed baseball team. I mean, it's been talked about all year. If they're not hitting the long ball, they struggle to win baseball games. They're not like a small ball, kill you with the speed type of team. They're very much rely on hitting home runs, and they're not finding ways to hit home runs. We saw what Garrett Crochet came in and did to Toronto just a few nights ago. Like, he's going to go in one of these games. The Red Sox have one of the best closers in baseball in Aroldis Chapman. He's had a big resurgence here this year. So, listen, I think the Red Sox have some good value at plus 125. I don't know what's a better scenario for the Jays. At the end of the day, you play who you play anyways. So that's one that I have my eye on as well.
Hey, what do we think about cooking something up and see if we can get a little boost before tomorrow morning? How about we take Tigers to win the series?
Okay.
Padres to win the series?
Okay.
And do we want to go Red Sox?
I like the Red Sox if you like them.
Well, I mean, listen, I love the fact that Crochet is playing. I mean, I think they get that first win, and then they got win a 1-2, and I'm here for that. And right. I think that with those numbers,
plus 725, I see.
Yeah, I mean, that could probably once Evdog or whoever takes care of that, we might be able to see 8-1 or something on that. So,
I mean, if we're going 3, do we want to just add the Dodgers and make it a clean 4, or are we getting too crazy with that?
You know, I guess I like the Dodgers.
Yeah, it's almost just one of those things where you're like, the Dodgers should win, but like the Reds didn't play that good down the stretch. I don't know if you've seen all the stats. I think the Reds went like 40-40 down the stretch. The Mets played themselves out of the playoffs.
The Mets, oh my God! Have you seen any of the Frank the Tank aftermath of the Mets end to the season?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Frank the Tank. I know Dave was talking to him today as well. Yeah, you feel bad. You feel bad for Frank because he is very passionate about the Mets and the way they collapse. Like, Frank was right. That's what they say. Hashtag Frank was right.
Frank was right. You know what? I don't mind. What happens if we add the Dodgers?
It goes up over 10-1, almost 11-1 before a boost.
Okay, let's do it. Let's just this is our 4-bagger wild card parlay. We'll put that up. These to win the series. We're going Tigers, we're going Padres, Dodgers, and Red Sox. We'll have that up either in the combo cards or the exclusives. But you'll need to get on that tonight or before first pitch tomorrow.
Yep.
First pitch is at noon Winnipeg time for it. Again, the futures and just quick numbers on the opening games. Tigers minus 164 favorites with Skubal on the mound tomorrow. The Padres Cubs is just about a pick 'em. Cubs minus 112, Padres minus 104. Crochet on the mound and plus 113. He hasn't been a dog very often. He is in game number 1. That's Boston in New York, plus 113 for the Red Sox, minus 133 for the Yankees, and the Dodgers minus 200 in game number 1 and minus 222 for the series. So we will cook that up, get that in. Now, Jake, we do have to get to Monday Night Football tonight. We've got a doubleheader. And we have, like, the one thing, I'll take ownership of this. I was 4-0 against the spread in the CFL. We cashed our CFL 110 parlay, ran the table in the Ryder Cup with the Europe bets, with the 5-0, like everything was hitting, except for my damn spread picks, which it has been a slow start to the season, to say the least. 1-3, couldn't even get the Packers. It looked like the Packers were rolling, and that stupid blocked field goal seemed to change everything. But props have been killing it. 2-0 in our prop shop on the weekend as well. So we've each got our favorite prop for tonight's 2 games, which we put together. But just a quick thought on Dolphins minus 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
This is changing as we're talking about it right now. And it's just went off the board. But basically all day it's been 2.5. And the Broncos laying 7.5 at 1-2. Against the Cincinnati Bengals. So who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's going to be Fields for the Jets. I don't know, Huss. All week I've liked the Jets. Like, I know the number's off the board right now, so it's tough to say what it's going to be. But sitting at that 2.5, I'd probably take the Jets, take the points where you can get them, or you could probably play them on the money line as well. I don't know. I'm not as sold on the Miami Dolphins. I know they had a strong week against the Buffalo Bills last week. They've had a little extended rest, so the spread makes sense to me. But at the same time, I don't know. I have a feeling for the Jets a little bit more. Broncos, Bengals, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, it doesn't help. I think we talked about this on Winners last week. It doesn't help that, Browning goes from playing the Minnesota Vikings defense and, he looked like he was seeing ghosts along with many of the other players fumbling all over the field and making a ton of mistakes. Then you got to go play the Denver defense, which isn't much easier to play against. They're going to get a ton of pressure on Browning. So, I probably expect the ball out of his hands a lot quicker. Could see a lot of Chase Brown, Jamar Chase tonight. We'll see if they're able to push the ball down the field. 7.5 is a lot, so I don't know if I'm necessarily on the Broncos spread. But I don't know if I can ride the Bengals either. That might be a prop game for me myself. And then riding the Jets along with – I'm heavy on Breece Hall tonight. He's in our parlay. I got him for the anytime touchdown from winners last week to finish a really nice week that I put together. So I'm hoping that comes through and we're laughing into week 5.
All right, so here, if you go to the exclusives, we've put together the WST Primetime Parlay. I'm rolling with Tyreek Hill. I think he'll have a big game on Monday Night Football. They got to get him the ball. I'm going Tyreek Hill, 65 or more receiving yards. Jake likes Breece Hall, 84 or more rush and receiving yards. I like that number.
Yeah.
And I guess Patty's rolling. He loves the QB rushing props.
Always.
Bo Nix plus 23 or more rushing yards. We've got that boosted up to plus 625. That's in the left column under exclusives. Go to the bottom, the WST parlay. Chiefs are back, by the way. Chiefs are back.
So are the Patriots.
Hey, that's the funny thing. Did I not say that was my favorite pick of the week?
Yeah,
that's why it was the only one that won.
It made a lot of sense, Huss. Like we said, the Panthers had won 30-0 a week before, and they're 5.5 point dogs. Like on the road, New England hadn't really been that good. They'd fumbled the ball 4 times the week before against the Steelers. It just seemed too obvious that I think that a normal person might be like, oh, you got to take the Panthers in that spot. And that's why sometimes you got to flip and just go Patriots. Easiest pick we made all week. And then the other one, Huss, the Rams, they take it away against the Eagles, but then they find a way to cover on a Tutu Atwell 80-yard touchdown to win the game. So pretty unbelievable cover there. I end up going 3-1 spreads and 2-0 in the props last night.
Nicely done. Well, we'll lean on you to lead the way on Friday on WST winners. Again, 10 a.m. on Fridays, all season long. Our NFL specials with our picks against the spread and a lot of fun conversations. So make sure to join us on the reg there. But in the meantime, get ready for the wild card round right now. We'll get that parlay up. Do you think that'll be combo cards, or will that be in the exclusives?
Combo cards. Since the markets are all there, we can just shoot it up quick in the combos. Perfect. And we'll have it ready to go. All
right, we'll get that up there. So if you want to ride with us, you can do that beforehand. And again, if you want to jump on that parlay for tonight's MNF doubleheader, it is in the exclusives at plus 625. What a weekend. And man, this Ryder Cup could not have happened at a better time. With the account looking pretty good coming out of the weekend, I'm ready to dive in for a few playoff wagers and, of course, Monday Night Football tonight. Jake, have a good one. We'll talk to you on Friday for the big football show.
Yeah, go Jays, and we'll talk on Friday.
Good stuff. There's Jake Bolin Moss at Jake Bolin Moss on X. And, of course, give at Coolbet Canada a follow as well for more of what we're cooking up over in the prop shop and with WST winners. We should get Remo back in here. But I do want to mention that we still do have, look how beautiful it is outside right now. Hopefully this weather can continue for a couple more weeks. And it'll seem like the beginning of September at Assiniboia Downs this week. Back at the track tomorrow and Wednesday. I'm actually going to be going on Wednesday. Really looking forward to that. 2 more weeks of live racing. And we're in crunch time right now with myself and Michael Remis going right down to the wire, to use a horse racing term, for the season championship of our head-to-head picks. Take advantage of this great weather and get out to Assiniboia Downs over the next couple days. And again, next week with 2 more days of live racing. asdowns.com for more information on everything going on out at the track. And make sure to give them a follow as well on social media. Remo, you're a big baseball guy. I mean, how are you feeling about the Mariners' chances heading into this and the number on them?
Really good. And I actually grabbed them a month ago, and I don't do a lot of futures, but I was watching, and they were winning every game at home. They were 16 of 17 at home until this weekend series against the Dodgers. I had them to win the American League at plus 850. And then win the World Series at 14-1. That was August 7th. I bet on
what a great number on the AL. I mean, they're the favorite right now at 2-1. So
yeah.
What was the World Series number? 15?
14-1, and then I used the boost to boost it up more. So I was watching a lot. They had their rotation is excellent. Brian Wu is their ace. He had a pec injury. I'm hoping he's okay, but the moves they made at this, and this was right after the trade deadline too. The moves they made at the deadline, getting Josh Naylor, who's big bat, and Eugenio Suarez, who had just under 50 homers this year, really helped make them a dangerous lineup. Plus the pitching, bullpen, most saves. Munoz is the odds to lead them in saves or lead the league in saves in the postseason. So I'm feeling very good, and this is a feeling that I haven't felt since 2001, the last time they won the division. That's 24 years ago. I was a different person then. It was so long ago, and I still have the jersey, my Ichiro rookie season jersey, in my closet. It's crazy how long it's been. So it would be pretty cool if they got to this championship series. World Series never happened, so exciting time, but also exciting time here. People don't want to hear about when we talk about state. I want to hear about the Blue Jays. And, we saw baseball fever back in 2015 when they made it to the ALCS. What a series it would be against the Yankees or the Red Sox. And I mean, honest, I haven't paid attention to how the playoff format worked the last couple of years since they put in these new wild cards. And I didn't know it was a fixed bracket either. It seems really dumb to do that, but
I agree. I mean, if there's a lower seeded team, the top seeded team should get it. But anyways, that's not the way that it is. What's the name of that guy? Canizaro, the guy that hit the 3 home runs at the game I was at last week?
Dominic Canzone.
Canzone.
He's like a bottom, bottom third of the lineup hitter, but he's had some big games. I bet on Josh Naylor. I went all the way down to be World Series MVP at 75-1. He had some big hits for them. So there's some fun numbers on there. So it'll be great.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the home run, the playoff home runs, and basically you want to pick a guy that's going to get to the World Series.
Yeah.
If you think a wild card team will go to the World Series, you've got even more games to play. That's why guys like Judge and Ohtani are right at the start of the list, and then there's Kyle Schwarber and Big Dumper Cal Raleigh right behind them. Anyways, lots of fun over at Coolbet right now. If you want to check those out. Any thoughts on these games tonight? Will we see an upset? Can the Jets or Bengals shock the world? It wouldn't be a huge shock if the Jets win.
The Jets? I thought the Jets were favored. The Dolphins have looked like crap. I think Justin Fields is going to run all over them. We saw how good he looked in Week 1 against Pittsburgh, although they didn't win that game. There was some fireworks. I like the Jets in this one for sure. I would pick the Jets. I don't know. The Dolphins, their defense has been non-existent. The Bengals not looking good with the backup QBN, and the Broncos looking good. I was going to take Broncos as my survivor pick, but I had already used them.
I did take the Broncos as my survivor pick.
I burned the Bills. I didn't trust Houston, who I should have dominated. Titans, who look pretty pathetic.
I got burned taking some favorites yesterday, including the Chargers. Oh, but man, if I was going to lose a bet, perfect. Chargers lose to the Giants.
Rookie QB in his
Jackson
first start.
Dart's first start, and then the Chiefs get a big win. So things are coming back to a little bit more normal in the AFC West. Chargers lose, Raiders lose. And to be honest, I'd even take getting bounced in my survivor pool tonight if the Bengals can find a way to shock the Denver Broncos. Listen, tomorrow, of course, is Truth and Reconciliation Day, so we won't have a regular live show of Winnipeg Sports Talk. However, if you're off and you want to pop in, the chat will be open for CFL 110. That will premiere at our normal time for WST Daily of 1 o'clock. We'll have an extended show coming out of the weekend. And if you missed the Stuart Johnson interview, I think we'll have that tagged on to the end. So it'll be a great little spot for a ton of CFL talk. And if you missed the Stuart Johnson chat last week we had on the program, we'll have that for you. And then right afterwards, we'll be premiering Connor and Liz with their Analytics Primer 101. You want to learn more about some of the numbers and how we get them and what we're talking about? They've done a great job of putting that. So that will be live on the channel as well tomorrow. So we will have some holiday programming for you here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. And then we will be back on Wednesday at our regular time of 1 o'clock p.m. with the latest on the Winnipeg Jets as they play tomorrow night in Minnesota. We'll let you know what the latest is on Connor Hellebuck, and of course, look ahead to the rest of the week, and of course, be all over Major League Baseball playoffs as well as the Wildcard series begin tomorrow. That is going to do it for us today. Huge thanks to all the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Great to have JBM, Mike McIntyre, and of course, Derek Taylor on the program. Get outside. It is glorious right now for the final day or days of September, and I hope you all have a good one tomorrow. Again, CFL 110 and our Analytics Primer will be live on the channel tomorrow. It'll premiere. You can go crazy in the chat as you normally do, and make sure to join us back here on Wednesday at 1 o'clock for another edition of WST Daily. For Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Paterson. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy the Monday Nighters and the baseball tomorrow. We'll see you Wednesday right here on WST.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.